Chapter 491. Zhang Xiaohua lowered her head and pretended to think. She then said solemnly, "If that's the case, then you two seniors can go about your business. There's no need for you to come over for the rest. How about I inform you after I've successfully refined the Crimson Flame pill?" Valley Head Nye glanced at Elder Zhang and nodded. "That's the only way. Nephew, you've worked hard. If you need anything, just tell little you. All the medicinal herbs in Rejuvenation Valley will be at your disposal." Hearing the word medicinal herbs, Zhang Xiaohua pointed at the jade box on the table and said, "After a while, I will put the other medicinal herbs into the cauldron according to their weight. I will put away the remaining medicinal herbs first. What do you two think?" The two nodded and had no objections. This was something they had discussed beforehand. Zhang Xiaohua was just putting it away first. After chatting for a while, Valley Head Nye and Elder Zhang were about to leave with conflicting emotions. Seeing Valley Head Nye frown, Zhang Xiaohua suddenly thought of the fragrant religion. She immediately asked, "Uncle Nye, are the people from the fragrant religion about to arrive?" Valley Head Nye nodded and said, "It should be around this time. However, nephew, don't worry. This old man won't forget about your matter. I've already arranged everything properly. Even if the people from the fragrant religion come now, this old man will delay them until the Crimson Flame pill is successfully refined." Zhang Xiaohua heard this and sighed. "The Crimson Flame pill can still be refined in the future. I don't want to push back the opportunity to go to the fragrant religion. I ask for Uncle Nye's understanding." Valley Head Nye looked at Elder Zhang and also nodded. "This old man understands nephew's thoughts. Nephew, just focus on refining the pill. This old man will arrange everything." After speaking, the two cupped their hands and bid farewell. Zhang Xiaohua stood alone in front of the cauldron. Thinking of Valley Head Nye's expression just now, Zhang Xiaohua shook her head. She understood that Valley Head Nye was most concerned about this Crimson Flame pill, but what she cared about was the opportunity to go to the Cult of Fragrance. If the people from the Cult of Fragrance were to come now, there would be an irreconcilable conflict between her request and Rejuvenation Valleys. She hoped that the people from the Cult of Fragrance would come a little later. At this time, Zhang Xiaohua, who had been waiting for people from the Fragrance cult to come quickly, wanted to delay this moment. This day passed very peacefully. In the morning, Zhang Xiaohua threw the remaining medicinal ingredients into the pill furnace and controlled the temperature of the earth fire to slowly quench the impurities of the remaining medicinal ingredients. When it was close to noon, Zhang Xiaohua once again injected a series of complicated spells into the pill furnace. She observed the faint changes of the 5 elements in the pill furnace and officially entered the pill gestation stage. When it came to pill incubation, he only had to pay attention to the temperature of the earth fire and control the stability of the cauldron. There was nothing else to pay special attention to. Therefore, Zhang Xiaohua took some time to separate a strand of consciousness to watch over the cauldron and began his usual cultivation. In the blink of an eye, nearly 10 days had passed. Valley Master Nye and Elder Zhang did not appear again. Only Nye Qianyu came to Zhang Xiaohua almost every night to ask questions about the 5 elements Dian formation. With the depth of her study, Nye Qianyu had already mastered the basics of this formation. It had to be said that Nye Qianyu, who did not have a good aptitude in martial arts, was still better than ordinary people when it came to the cultivation of formations. Therefore, when Zhang Xiaohua answered her questions, he slowly taught her some of the basic knowledge of formations and restrictions. Zhang Xiaohua's cultivation was even more remarkable. She had already begun to comprehend the cultivation concealment chant of God's guidance, and had already achieved some small success. If there were no accidents, she would be able to achieve large success in a short period of time. At that time, Zhang Xiaohua would not attract the attention of the experts in the fragrant religion. After all, Zhang Xiaohua only went to the fragrant religion to look for Zhang Xiaohu, and did not have any intention of causing trouble for the fragrant religion. However, Nye Qianyu's expression was the same as Valley Master Nye's. At first, it was just a frown, but recently, there was a slight worry on her face. Zhang Xiaohua originally decided not to ask, but in the end, he couldn't help but ask. Little fishy Nye, 10 days ago, I saw Uncle Nye's worried face. You also seem to have something on your mind. I know this is a family matter of your rejuvenation valley. If there is anything I can help with, there is no harm in asking. Nye Chinyu forced a smile and said, Alas, this matter. However, she only said the beginning and did not want to continue. She said, It's nothing, Big Brother Ren. This is purely a private matter of our rejuvenation valley. You can't help much. You should concentrate on refining the pills. It would be best if you finished refining before the people from the fragrant religion arrive. Otherwise, it will always... In the end, there was another sentence that he didn't finish. Zhang Xiaohuan knew that she was also afraid that the people from the fragrant religion would suddenly come, and he would not be able to explain himself to the rejuvenation valley. He shrugged and said, This matter can only depend on the heavens. I can only do my best. Alas, Nye Chinyu sighed and said, But many things do not go according to one's wishes. Zhang Xiaohua's heart trembled, and he vaguely had a bad feeling. He immediately asked, Could it be that the people from the fragrant religion have already arrived? Nye Chinyu rolled her eyes and said reproachfully, If the people from the fragrant religion came, even if father did not tell you, would I not tell you? Zhang Xiaohua said apologetically, Little fish Nye, don't blame me. I was also anxious. Nye Chinyu waved her hand and said, It's nothing, Big Brother Ren. Don't worry. As long as the people from the fragrant religion come, and father will tell you whether or not the crimson flame pill is refined. You don't have to worry. Zhang Xiaohua nodded and smiled. After a while, Nye Chinyu was obviously not in the mood to study. Zhang Xiaohua did not keep her and sent her out of the alchemy room. Not to mention that Zhang Xiaohua was still sitting cross-legged in front of the alchemy furnace. She did not make any gestures to inject the liquid into the furnace. After leaving the alchemy room, Nye Chinyu went out of the inner valley. She did not go to the Peach Blossom Temple, but went directly to the Huichen Hall. At this time, there were already many people sitting in the Huichen Hall. Valley Master Nye was sitting at the head of the table, expressionlessly sipping tea from time to time. On his left, the two disciples, Fei He and Mu Qingxian, were sitting upright with their heads bowed. They looked like clay bodhisattvas. On his right, the eldest daughter, Nye Qianrong, and her husband, Yu Zhonglin, were looking at each other, not knowing what to do. Their second daughter, Nye Qianxiu, and her husband, Changxing, were slightly angry. They exchanged glances and glanced at Valley Master Nye from the corner of their eyes. Seeing Nye Qianyu enter the Huichen Hall, Valley Master Nye was surprised and smiled. Little Yu, why are you back so early today? Nye Qianyu looked at everyone and said, Big Brother Rin is a little tired, so I came back early. After she finished speaking, she greeted everyone in the hall and casually sat down next to Mu Qingxian. Hearing Nye Qianyu's words, the anger on Changxing's face became even stronger. He gave Nye Qianxiu a look. Nye Qianyu coughed and said to Valley Master Nye, Father, wasn't this young man with the surname Ren fine? As long as he helped our Huichen Valley get through this difficult time, he would be kicked out. Why is he still staying in the valley after so long? Could it be that this guy changed his mind and father couldn't kick him out because of your face? If father doesn't want to be the bad guy, then I will go and explain it to him so that he doesn't have any bad ideas and leaves the valley as soon as possible. When Valley Master Nye heard this, he shook his head and said, Nephew Rin is staying in the valley not because of your sister, but because of other important matters. You don't have to worry about it. Nephew? Nye Qianxiu sneered and said, Since father is calling him nephew, then have you investigated the background of this nephew? He is staying in our Huichen Valley for no reason and is even trying to build a relationship with us. Don't fall into his trap. When Nye Qianyu heard this, her face turned pale and she said, Second sister, Big Brother Ren has a chivalrous heart and didn't take advantage of our Huichen Valley. He just... Nye Qianxiu interrupted her words and said, Little Yu, you must not be bewitched by him and lose your usual intelligence. The bad men in this world like to play hard to get. He obviously has thousands of ideas for you, but you can't see through them and think that he doesn't care. Only when you take the bait will he reveal his ferocious face. I think this Rin is such a person. Even second sister, who has just met him a few times, can see your feelings for him. How can he not know? Since he has no interest in you and helped our Huichun Valley, we can just give him some elixirs and some gold, silver and jewels. He can just come from afar. Why is he still staying in the valley to talk to you? This person must have an unspeakable plan in his heart. Ye Qianyu's face turned pale. When Yu Zhonglin heard this, he opened his mouth and was about to say something, but Ye Qianrong pulled his sleeve and shook her head. Yu Zhonglin was stunned and very puzzled. However, he saw Ye Qianrong constantly winking at him, so he looked back and saw Valley Master Nie's face was terrifyingly gloomy and showed signs of anger at any time. He immediately extinguished the thought of speaking and frowned as he watched Nye Qianxio's performance. At this time, Chang Xing coughed and stopped Nye Qianxio from continuing. He smiled and said, "You said so much, but he is just an outsider. Little Yu is much smarter than us, how can she not know how to be careful? Moreover, father-in-law is also here. He will definitely not be deceived by this hypocrite." The word outsider was enunciated very clearly. When Ye Qianxio heard this, she also smiled and said, "Husband, you are right. I am just afraid that our family will be taken advantage of, so I reminded little Yu that an outsider is an outsider and can't be completely trusted." Then, she said to Nye Qianrong, "Do you think what little sister said is right?" "Big sister." Nye Qianrong was a little caught off guard and hurriedly said, "Second sister is right. However, the specific problem needs to be analyzed in detail." After saying that, she shut her mouth and refused to say another word. Huichun Hall was silent for a while, then they heard Chang Xing say again, "Father-in-law, what do you think about the matter that I mentioned last time?" -3. Chapter 492. A cold smile appeared on Valley Master Nie's face when he heard this. "Xiao Chang, I've already answered you about this matter several days ago. Do I still need to repeat myself?" An almost imperceptible trace of anger flashed through Chang Xing's eyes, but his expression remained warm and genial. He said respectfully, "Father-in-law, please understand. This son-in-law of mine isn't making things difficult for you. Moreover, Chang Xing isn't an outsider. He's a nephew I watched grow up. He can't practice martial arts, but he's a bit smart. If you don't help him, this child's future will be bleak." Valley Master Nye coldly snorted. "The Whale Gang is a famous gang in the Jianghu. Your nephew only needs to find some work in the gang. Won't this be easily solved? Why go so far for what's near?" When Yu Zhonglin heard this, he couldn't help but feel surprised. His father-in-law had always been kind and amiable. Whenever there was a problem with the Whale Gang, he would grant it. He wasn't stingy at all. Although Rejuvenation Valley's attitude towards the Whale Gang wasn't as good as Dear Chrysek's, they were all ordinary son-in-laws. Presumably, he wouldn't be stingy with Chang Xing. What did Chang Xing want his father-in-law to do for him to refuse again and again? Just as he was about to speak, Nye Qianrong tugged on his sleeve. When Yu Zhonglin looked over, he saw his wife shaking her head slightly. Chang Xing glanced at Nye Qianxio out of the corner of his eye, but didn't say anything else. Nye Qianxio felt wronged. "Father, Chang Xing is also my nephew. He treats me with respect every day. He's a good person. Moreover, before I returned home, I already promised father-in-law that I would complete this matter for him. Look at the gifts I brought back. They're all gifts from the Whale Gang. Just give me some face and agree." Valley Master Nye didn't hesitate. He shook his head and said, "If it were anything else, I would have agreed long ago. Even if you married into the Whale Gang, you're still my daughter. How could I not give you face? However, this matter is truly important. I can't ignore it." After that, he took a sip of tea and said, "When you returned late that night, you told me about this matter early in the morning. At that time, I didn't immediately refuse. I only thought about it again and again. This involves the reputation of our Rejuvenation Valley, so I didn't dare to make a decision on my own. Seeing this, Nie Qianxiu turned her head to look at Mu Qingxian and Fei He. However, the two of them had remained silent ever since they entered the rejuvenation hall. They were completely focused on tasting the tea, as if they had never tasted such a wonderful tea before. Nie Qianrong had no choice but to turn her head to look at Nie Qianyu. Nie Qianyu was annoyed that she had scolded Zhang Xiaohua just now. She pouted and looked impatient. She did not look at her and just used her finger to draw something in the air. Nie Qianxiu thought that she was fooling around and was extremely angry. If Zhang Xiaohua was here, she would be able to see that Nie Qianyu was drawing the 5 elements Dian formation. The entire rejuvenation hall immediately fell into an awkward silence. Yu Zhongling really couldn't take it anymore. After all, in this hall, only he and Changxing had the role of son-in-law. If he didn't say anything at this time, he would lose out in terms of morality. As a result, he coughed and said, "That father-in-law, although the Whale Gang is a large sect, it is still the place where Changxing grew up. If he only makes a living in one place, it is inevitable that he will have the mindset of a frog in a well. If he comes to Rejuvenation Valley, it can be considered as making up for his shortcomings and learning new skills. I feel that this is a good thing. Moreover, Changxing also came to our Dear Cry sect with second sister 2 years ago." Valley Master Nia looked at his son-in-law and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Zhongling, do you think that if Changxing came to my Rejuvenation Valley, the Whale Gang would give me a carriage full of gifts? Do you think I'll reject you again and again?" Yu Zhongling was speechless. Nie Qianrong smiled and said, "Father, please don't blame Zhongling. He has good intentions and wants to help second sister. It's just that he doesn't know what's going on. However, your daughter is also confused." Valley Master Nie sighed. "You just came back this afternoon. Naturally, you don't know the reason. Qianxiu and Changxing are begging me for the same thing you begged me for 6 years ago." As soon as he finished speaking, Nie Qianrong and Yu Zhongling's expressions changed slightly. They looked at each other and exchanged glances. They didn't say anything else. Valley Master Nie continued, "If Changxing only came to my Rejuvenation Valley, I wouldn't have anything to say. I couldn't ask for anything more. However, just like Zhongling's cousin, he wants to pass down the incense cult and try his luck. Do you think it's easy to be an alchemy boy? Not to mention that I haven't seen a single alchemy boy come back after so many years. If Changxing goes, who knows when he'll be able to come back?" Before he finished speaking, Changxing said, "Father-in-law, please don't worry about this. I already explained the situation to my father and brothers before coming here. They all feel that if he goes to the incense cult, there will naturally be other opportunities. It doesn't matter if he doesn't come back. If he can make a name for himself, he will be able to bring honor to his ancestors and raise the prestige of the Whale Gang." Valley Master Nie smiled bitterly. "Not a single one of the alchemy boys sent by our Rejuvenation Valley has ever come back. Although we hear that they are doing very well in the incense cult, we don't see any living people. It's inevitable that there will be something wrong." Nie Qianxiu was still unwilling. "Father, you don't need to worry. We only agreed to send him to the incense cult. As for his fate, whether he comes back or not, it's not something we can control." Valley Master Nie scolded, "Qianxiu, you're being muddle-headed. Your husband's family's matters are our Rejuvenation Valley's matters. Changxing is also our relative. This matter is clearly dangerous, and it's not like there are no other ways. Why do you insist on walking down this single-plank bridge? Father, your daughter has never asked you for anything in all these years. This is your daughter's request. You should just agree." Valley Master Nie still shook his head. "There's one more thing. The incense cult has always maintained close ties with Rejuvenation Valley. They even strongly support our Rejuvenation Valley in the pugilistic world. However, we treat people sincerely. Every time they come to Rejuvenation Valley to pick people, we receive them with sincerity. We let them choose from the alchemy boys that we focus on nurturing. You have to know that the incense cult has made it clear that they only want alchemy boys trained by our Rejuvenation Valley. If I let Changxing go forward, wouldn't it be cheating?" Hearing this, Changxing and Ye Qianxiu's faces showed a trace of anger. However, they still endured and did not flare up. They only softly pleaded, "Father, although Changxing is not our alchemy boy, he is still Changxing's nephew. We know him better than our alchemy boys. Xinjian is not an outsider. What is there to be worried about?" The word outsider was clearly enunciated. Valley Master Nye shook his head. "If I could make an exception, I would have made an exception for Zhonglin's cousin a few years ago. Why wait until now? You should think of another way." At this time, Nye Qianxiu could not bear it any more. She stood up. "Father, it's not that I want to make things difficult for you. Since you want to take care of the alchemy boys, then don't include outsiders. You have to be fair. On one hand, you want to send an outsider to the incense cult as an alchemy boy. On the other hand, you keep denying the future of your own people. Do you think I don't have other thoughts?" When Valley Master Nye heard this, his face also showed anger. He frowned and looked at Yu Zhongling. Yu Zhongling was shocked. He quickly said, "Father-in-law, although this son-in-law also came to welcome the people from the incense cult, I just returned to the valley this afternoon. It was at this rejuvenation hall that I saw second sister and second brother-in-law." Nye Qianxiu sneered. "Father, there is no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. Since you want to send Ren Xiaoyao to the incense cult, then don't be afraid of others knowing." Then, he glanced at Nye Qianyu, who was also surprised, and said, "I thought there was something wrong with Ren Xiaoyao that day. Even if he helped him when he saw injustice, why didn't he leave when the matter was over? He just stayed in my rejuvenation valley and kept saying that he didn't need any repayment from us. I thought he was very noble. It turns out that he didn't care about the foundation of my rejuvenation valley at all. He had already made his plan. He turned out to be a super sect in Jianghu, the incense cult. Maybe he had already calculated this plan when he saved little Yu. Maybe he was even sent by the enemy. Everything had already been arranged." Nye Qianyu said angrily. "You second sister, how can you slander Big Brother Ren like this? He didn't even know what Rejuvenation Valley was that day." Nye Qianxiu sneered. "This is even more nonsense. Although my Rejuvenation Valley is not as famous as the incense cult in Jianghu, there must be a problem if a person in Jianghu hasn't even heard of Rejuvenation Valley. Little Yu, don't be blinded by others. Others have sold Rejuvenation Valley, and you still help them count the money. Shut up." Valley Master Nia was also furious. "I know what kind of person Ren Xiaoxia is. He has been in our Rejuvenation Valley for several months. If he has any bad conduct or intentions, how can we not see it? Moreover, your eldest senior brother and second senior brother have also been in contact with him. They have all praised him. Do you think we are all blind?" Fei He and Mu Qingxian also heard that Zhang Xiaohua wanted to go to the incense cult for the first time. They were very surprised. However, when they heard their master mention it, they quickly nodded. Yes, this Ren Xiaoxia is indeed a magnanimous person. He is not what you think. Nye Qianxiu did not back down. You may know a person's face but not his heart. I have only seen him once. However, from the fact that he wants to go to the incense cult, I know that his purpose in saving little Yu is not simple. Moreover, father, no matter what, Ren Xiaoyao is an outsider. He has not really married our family's little Yu. Since you can let him pretend to be an alchemy boy and enter the incense cult, why can't you help him and let him have a good future in the incense cult? Valley Master Nye sighed. AI, this is clearly different. Nye Qianxiu sneered again. What's the difference? He just wants to hug the incense cult's thigh and make plans for his future. Seeing that Valley Master Nye was still shaking his head, Nye Qianxiu gritted her teeth. If father doesn't agree, then no one will go. If you let that person go to the incense cult, then don't blame your daughter. -3. Chapter 493. Valley Master Nye said angrily. What do you want? Nye Qianxiu also seemed to have shed all pretense of cordiality. She said, Father, you naturally know your daughter's temperament. I never give up until I achieve my goals. If father only wants that bastard to go to the incense cult, then don't blame me for leaking information to the incense cult. When Valley Master Nye heard this, he didn't fly into a rage as Nye Qianxiu had imagined. He only smiled. I have no intention of hiding nephew Ren's identity. Even if the incense cult's emissaries find out about this, they won't blame us. Is that so, father? Nye Qianxiu smiled like a kitten. Father will definitely say that he is Little Yu's future husband. With this identity, the incense cult naturally won't blame us. However, what if they find out that this husband is just a gimmick and has nothing to do with our Little Yu? Right, what if it's a person of unknown origin? Valley Master Nye was finally enraged. He roared, You dare! Why wouldn't I dare? Nye Qianxiu raised her head. It's just a small favor. If father isn't even willing to help, I really don't have the face to return to the whale gang. Changxing stood up at the right time and scolded. Little Xiu, how can you speak to father like this? He then bowed to Valley Master Nye and said, Father-in-law, please don't blame her. Little Xiu's temper is like this. You know that she's just saying things out of anger. If the incense cult finds out about this, won't it become a big problem? At the very least, they'll cut off all ties with our Rejuvenation Valley. At the very least, they might even teach us a lesson. The incense cult's anger isn't something that our Rejuvenation Valley or the Jade Foundation Alliance can handle. Don't you think so, brother-in-law? Yu Zhonglin was listening intently. When he was suddenly called, he was startled awake. Oh yes, brother-in-law is right. Nye Qianyu, who was sitting below her two senior brothers, also looked at her father with a worried expression. Second sister and brother-in-law were right. Letting Zhang Xiaohua into the incense cult was indeed risky. However, back then, she had thought that only Valley Master Nye, Yu Yan, the Jade Foundation Alliance's leaders, and herself knew that Zhang Xiaohua was going to the incense cult. Therefore, there was no risk. However, she didn't expect that her second sister would return to the valley late at night a few days ago, and say that she wanted to force her way into the incense cult to secure a bright future. This wasn't something that had never happened before. Recently, even brother-in-law Yu Zhonglin's cousin had been rejected by her father. However, she didn't expect her second sister to have such detailed information. For a moment, she didn't know how to persuade her. Valley Master Nye flew into a rage out of humiliation. He never thought that his daughter would fall out with him because of her in-laws. The idea of sending Zhang Xiaohua to the incense cult wasn't suggested by Zhang Xiaohua. She had only asked for the location of the incense cult's headquarters. Everything was arranged by Valley Master Nye and Yu Yan. Sigh, it was all Yu Yan's fault. Why did he think of sending her to the incense cult? However, when he thought about the influence that Zhang Xiaohua had on the Rejuvenation Valley in the past few months, Valley Master Nye couldn't help but secretly admire Yu Yan's arrangement. If it wasn't for the kindness of sending Zhang Xiaohua to the incense cult, would Zhang Xiaohua have given so many things to the Rejuvenation Valley? Alchemy techniques, the 5 elements Dian formation, and the crimson flame pill that was being refined now. That was an elixir that could increase one's cultivation by 10 years. It was something that he couldn't even dream of. Sigh, this second sister is too much. How did she get caught up in this wave? It's so easy to refuse this year, but Valley Master Nye was also speechless. What Zhang Xiaohua had done was a secret of the Rejuvenation Valley. Nye Qianrong and Nye Qianxiu were married people and naturally couldn't reveal it. However, if he didn't say it, how could they know that it was the Rejuvenation Valley's secret that allowed Zhang Xiaohua to go to the incense cult? Since he couldn't say it, and he had to let Zhang Xiaohua go, the only thing that Valley Master Nye could do was to compromise. However, looking at Nye Qianxiu's appearance, looking at Changxing's appearance, then looking at Nye Qianrong and Yu Zhonglin, Valley Master Nye was in a dilemma. Firstly, his second daughter had married an outsider, but she was of the same mind as her husband's family, and used his weakness to threaten him. It was unforgivable. Secondly, he had previously refused his eldest daughter and son-in-law, and now he had to agree to his second daughter's relatives going to the incense cult. It was a dilemma, an absolute dilemma. Yu Zhonglin looked at Nie Qianrong and gave her a look. Nie Qianrong coughed and said, Father, Yan Qi's grandfather told us about this matter on the way back to the Deer Cry sect. He was afraid that we would have some thoughts if we knew about this matter. In fact, since this matter was discussed by his grandfather and father, how could we have other thoughts? The matter last time was also a matter of the Deer Cry sect. Since his grandfather didn't care, we naturally wouldn't care. His grandfather also said very clearly that this matter was of great importance, and must not be spread out. We also took it to heart. Until today, we have never mentioned it again, let alone said a word to anyone else. Then she glanced at Nie Qianxiu and continued, Moreover, this is a private matter of the Rejuvenation Valley. Your daughter is already married and does not dare to interfere with the matters of the valley. The reason I came back today is just like before, to show my face in front of the incense cult and let them know about the Deer Cry sect. I have no other thoughts. Father, you can make your own decision, I have no objections. Yu Zhonglin also smiled and said, Father-in-law, Qianrong is speaking from our hearts. Before we came, Father also told us so. You don't have to worry about us. Sai, why is there such a big difference between people? They all have the same mother, why do they look so different? Valley Master Nia was even more helpless. Seeing this, Changxing immediately stood up and bowed. Father-in-law, I am sorry for being presumptuous. This is the first time and also the last time. In the future, I will not trouble father-in-law with such a difficult matter. Nie Qianxiu also begged. Father, please agree. This really is the last time. Valley Master Nie said helplessly. Sai, you can leave for now. Let me think about it carefully. This was a tactful agreement. Other than Nie Qianxiu, Changxing, and Nie Qianyu were all especially surprised. They didn't think that Valley Master Nie would yield to Nie Qianxiu and Changxing for Zhang Xiaohua. What kind of charm did this Zhang Xiaohua have to make Valley Master Nie take such a big risk? Nie Qianyu wasn't surprised because she knew everything. She knew Zhang Xiaohua's importance and his use to Rejuvenation Valley. Nie Qianxiu and Changxing weren't surprised because they knew that as long as Valley Master Nie allowed Zhang Xiaohua to spread the incense cult, they had no choice but to let Changxing go. Otherwise, it would be a life and death struggle. This wasn't what Valley Master Nie wanted to see. However, Nie Qianxiu was still not satisfied. She hurriedly said, Father, what are you still thinking about? The messenger of the incense cult arrived in Saros City yesterday. Maybe he's coming to Rejuvenation Valley now. If you hesitate, the cucumber will be cold. It had to be said that Nie Qianxiu was still a little too anxious. The old man had already acquiesced. Couldn't she give him a way out? Changxing hurriedly scolded. Qianxiu, how can you speak to father like that? Hurry and apologize to father. Valley Master Nie was so angry that he laughed. It seems that you're really considerate. You even pay attention to the movements of the messenger of the incense cult. It's rare. If you use this effort on the development of the gang, you may benefit a lot. Nie Qianxiu seemed to know that she was too anxious. She explained, Father, don't blame me. I already promised father-in-law before I came. I'm afraid that I'll lose face. That's why I'm anxious. Valley Master Nie sneered. If you're afraid of losing face, then what about other people's faces? Also, how can the movements of the messenger of the incense cult be known by us? I advise you not to overestimate yourself. Otherwise, if you get into trouble, no one can help you. Even if father helps you this time, he may not be able to help you next time. Hearing this, Nie Qianxiu was pleasantly surprised. Father, you agree? Almost everyone present wanted to cover their faces. He had already said this much, but she still didn't understand. This IQ! Changxing pulled Nie Qianxiu's sleeve and stood up again. He bowed and said, Thank you, father-in-law. This guy's etiquette tonight was almost more than in a year. Valley Master Nie glared at them and snorted. He stood up and entered the inner hall. Seeing their master leave, Fei He and Mu Qingxian immediately stood up and cupped their hands to everyone. They turned and left the rejuvenation hall. Tonight's matter was not so much the Rejuvenation Valley's matter, but rather the Valley Master's private matter. Yet Qianyu also stood up. Her face was very gloomy. She looked at her second sister from the corner of her eyes. She felt like she didn't recognize her anymore. She nodded to her eldest sister and brother-in-law and went to catch up with Valley Master Nye. Nye Qianrong stood up and looked at her second sister. She wanted to say something but stopped. She looked at Yu Zhonglin. They both shook their heads and left the Rejuvenation Hall hand in hand. Changxing seemed to be happy that his wish had been fulfilled, but he was also worried about offending his father-in-law. He looked at Nye Qianxiu, who was still somewhat unwilling, and reproached her. "You're usually so smart. Why are you so reckless today?" Nye Qianxiu sneered. "Look at father's attitude today. It's obviously different from how he treated eldest sister and little you. If I don't fight for it, when will I be able to complete your father's task? But father-in-law has already agreed. You should have just given him a way out. Why force him to make a decision? You don't know this. Although father has agreed, little you just needs to say a bunch of nonsense in front of him. My efforts tonight will all be in vain. When the incense cult's emissary comes tomorrow, he just needs to say he doesn't agree. What else can we say? But you can't what? Aren't I doing this for the good of Rejuvenation Valley and our whale gang? It's just that father is stubborn. In the future, he'll definitely thank us. Forget it. Let's not talk too much here. Let's go back inside." The two looked at the silent inner hall and stood up to leave. -3. Chapter 494. The inner hall was an exquisite little room. Valley Master Nye was sitting on one side with his eyes closed, thinking about something. Nye Qianyu walked in quickly and sat beside him without saying anything. After a while, Valley Master Nye opened his eyes and asked, "Lil Yu, what do you think about this?" Nye Qianyu said calmly, "I'll follow father's decision. I don't have much to say about this. Sai, what's wrong with your second sister today? She's so overbearing. If not for the fact that I've watched her grow up, I would have doubted her intentions. Father, don't worry too much. No matter what, second sister came from Rejuvenation Valley. She definitely won't have any intention of harming Rejuvenation Valley. This matter might be similar to what happened a few years ago with elder brother-in-law's family. They both want to use Rejuvenation Valley to hug Incense Cult's thighs. If Qianyu can be valued in Incense Cult and become an outer or inner disciple, wouldn't the whale gang gain face? She'll be relying on Incense Cult's backing. Sai, how could it be that easy? Rejuvenation Valley and Incense Cult have been friends for many years, but they've never helped us more than a few times. Don't we still have to rely on our own efforts to overcome difficulties? Father, you're right. But that's just us telling the truth behind closed doors. How would others know? They only know that we're wearing bright clothes because we're borrowing Incense Cult's glory. That's why they're racking their brains to use Rejuvenation Valley's connections. I'm just afraid that once Qianyu opens her mouth, others will come to Rejuvenation Valley to do the same thing. That'll be difficult. Yet Qianyu smiled bitterly. That's also impossible. According to second sister, if we don't let Qianyu go, big brother Rin can forget about it. She'll definitely turn the world upside down. If the Incense Cult's emissary is like second sister said, he'll arrive tomorrow. We can't save him even if we want to. I hope this is the only time. There won't be a next time. Is a married daughter really like spilled water? She doesn't even care about father's efforts? Then he looked at Nye Qianyu and smiled. I wonder how little you will be in the future? Nye Qianyu's face reddened. Father, you're joking. How could I have such thoughts? I'll most likely stay by father's side and grow old in Rejuvenation Valley. Valley Master Nye sighed. Nephew Rin is really a good child, but... Nye Qianyu immediately stopped Valley Head Nye from continuing. Father, brother Rin might already have someone in his heart. Halfway through his words, he was too embarrassed to speak. Valley Master Nye asked curiously. I don't know which family's daughter is from, but she's actually more attractive than our little Yu. In the face of her father's comfort, Nye Qianyu did not feel happy at all. she just said. Big Brother Rin is very tight-lipped. I and Little Orange couldn't find out anything. Alas, I don't know what kind of woman is worthy of Big Brother Ren. Let's not talk about it anymore. Little you, your Big Brother Rin isn't the only good man in this world. You don't have to be on this tree. Let's set our sights a little further. With my Rejuvenation Valley's ability, it won't be a big problem to find you a satisfactory husband. Nie Qianyu's face was lonely. Let's talk about this later. After all, Big Brother Ren hasn't been kicked out of Rejuvenation Valley by us yet. Speaking of kicking Zhang Xiaohua out of Rejuvenation Valley, Nie Qianyu's face unconsciously revealed a trace of a smile. Moreover, he entered the fragrant religion as the prospective son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley. Even if you're anxious to marry off your daughter, you'll have to wait for this matter to pass. Moreover, Nie Qianyu hesitated for a moment. Father's martial arts competition for marriage this time is extremely grand. Who in the Jianghu doesn't know about it? Who would come to our Rejuvenation Valley to propose marriage? Valley Master Nie's face was apologetic. Little you, father didn't consider this matter thoroughly. I've really wronged you. Nie Qianyu took a deep breath and smiled. Father's good intentions are to attract the enemy's attention. How could I not know this? How could I blame father? Let's not talk about this matter anymore. The fragrant religion's emissary may come back to Rejuvenation Valley tomorrow. Just like before, they'll only stay in the valley for a day. Moreover, Big Brother Ren's Crimson Flame pill will take 2 days to refine. There's still a day's delay in between. Father will have to put in a bit more effort. Aye, that's right. This is indeed a difficult matter. I've long since known that the fragrant religion's emissary has arrived in Macho City. Don't you think it's strange? The fragrant religion always arrives in Macho City before disappearing. Afterwards, they come to Rejuvenation Valley. Who knows what they're doing in Macho City? The fragrant religion's matters aren't something we can meddle in. Even second sister, father, you have to warn them again. They mustn't play with fire and get burned. The fragrant religion's appearance is a warning to Rejuvenation Valley so that we can prepare in advance. Your second sister's men are probably the Whale Gang's men. They're making preparations to force their way into the fragrant religion this time. I don't think they'll appear again in the future. I hope that's the case. But AI, forget it. Second sister and the Whale Gang know the fragrant religion's strength. They definitely won't do anything foolish. That's right. Although your second sister isn't as smart as you, she's not stupid either. She's still able to distinguish between the pros and cons. Hey, little you, why are you so listless? Forget it, it's getting late. Father won't say any more. You've been learning the 5 elements multiplication formation all this time. You've also exhausted a lot of energy. Rest early. When Nie Qianyu heard this, she didn't say anything else. She stood up, bowed, and excused herself. A faint trace of worry could be seen on her face. Valley Master Nie gazed at his daughter's departing figure for a long time, unwilling to look away. That small and thin figure, and her somewhat tired footsteps, all indicated that his daughter was carrying a heavy burden on her shoulders. That's right. Little Yu's heart was completely set on Zhang Xiaohua. Although there were many men in this world who would be able to walk into her heart, not to mention a short period of time, even several years might not be enough for her to walk out of the thousands of knots in her heart. Moreover, when he thought about Zhang Xiaohua's unparalleled martial arts, superb alchemy skills, and unfathomable formations, although there were many men in this world, how many could compare to her? It was no wonder that little Yu was deeply in love. Although it was already summer, the weather in Rejuvenation Valley was still like spring. The peach blossom forest and peach blossom nunnery was still the same, but the peach blossoms had long since withered. Only lush green leaves remained. Of course, when she thought about the gorgeous peach blossoms when Zhang Xiaohua came with her, Nie Qianyu felt a wave of sadness. As the ancient saying went, flowers can't bloom for 100 days. Even in Rejuvenation Valley, which was like spring all year round, delicate peach blossoms couldn't bloom forever. After all, only a peach tree that bore peach blossoms was a real peach tree. peach blossoms were just a process. In the inner valley of Rejuvenation Valley, Zhang Xiaohua, who was in the alchemy room, was completely unaware that Rejuvenation Valley almost had an internal strife because of him going to preach the incense cult. He also didn't know that Nie Qianyu was extremely sad when facing her beloved peach forest. At this moment, he was staring intently at the medicinal liquid in the alchemy furnace. His heart was slightly nervous. It was already the 12th day of alchemy. The medicinal liquid in the alchemy furnace had gradually taken shape. The internal rotation was also slowing down. Zhang Xiaohua used his divine sense to examine it carefully. The outer layer of the medicinal liquid seemed to be forming a formation that contained the 5 elements primordial qi. Why did he say that it seemed to be? That was because this formation was different from all the formations that Zhang Xiaohua had learned before. In other words, it was completely different from the formations that Zhang Xiaohua had practiced. Zhang Xiaohua had only forced the name, formation, onto this thing. This gradually formed formation harmonized the primordial qi of heaven and earth contained in the 2 main ingredients and several other ingredients in an orderly manner. It formed an elixir that had a universe within and the 5 elements fused together. Moreover, this formation also gradually underwent changes that Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense did not realize. It slowly isolated Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense, turning this elixir into a pure elixir. Zhang Xiaohua had practiced refining elixirs before. She had even refined the representative elixirs of Rejuvenation Valley using the Immortal Dao technique. However, she had never seen such a distinct process in the refining process of other elixirs. It was this process that made Zhang Xiaohua feel that refining this kind of elixir was the real deal. Her so-called refining elixirs in the past was merely a warm-up process. If a low-level elixir already had such an effect, then what would a mid-level and high-level elixir be like? Zhang Xiaohua still had a trace of anticipation in her heart as she began to practice the Carefree Heart Sutra after inserting the last formula. It was another night of cultivation. The starlight was still penetrating into the crimson flame elixir that was about to take shape. During the 10 days of the elixir's gestation, Zhang Xiaohua would stand guard in front of the elixir furnace every night to practice the Carefree Heart Sutra. The starlight had shrouded the elixir in starlight for 10 days. Previously it was still unreachable. Now, the entire elixir could already see bits of starlight embedded in the elixir. It was just that the addition of this starlight was a disaster, or a blessing. The accumulation of starlight was also a matter of accumulation. Zhang Xiaohua did not notice it previously. She only knew that on the morning of the 13th day, she casually scanned the elixir liquid with her divine sense, and suddenly discovered that at the end of the gestation, her divine sense could no longer casually scan the elixir. The changes within the elixir were basically invisible. However, this starlight was different from other essences. It was scattered in a very strange arrangement within the elixir. When Zhang Xiaohua saw this starlight, her entire body could not help but stiffen. This thing was not mentioned in the formula for the Meridian Soothing Elixir. It was also not mentioned in the formula for the Crimson Flame Elixir. Was there a deviation in her refining? Was that why this strange thing appeared? Zhang Xiaohua tilted her head and thought for a long time. From the time she put in the elixir until today's gestation, every spell, every step, she recalled in detail. However, she could not think of anything wrong. Could it be that when she turned the elixir liquid from a sphere into a pancake, and then from a pancake into a sphere, these starlight dots would appear? Scratching her head, Zhang Xiaohua was perplexed. How could this be possible? She had only casually used the spell. If that spell could create something out of nothing, that would be great. Could it be because the formula for the Meridian Soothing Elixir was incomplete? Only the herbs for the Crimson Flame Elixir were used? Zhang Xiaohua was just thinking when she suddenly frowned. She seemed to hear the sound of a string instrument by her ear. -3. Chapter 495. When Zhang Xiaohua heard the music, he couldn't help but stare blankly. He had lived in Rejuvenation Valley for several months, and the valley had always been very secluded. He had never heard such noise before, and the sound had actually traveled from the outer valley to the inner valley. However, Zhang Xiaohua's heart immediately rejoiced. Could it be that the people from the fragrant religion had arrived? At that moment, he didn't have time to examine the abnormality of the medicinal pill. He immediately released his divine sense and rushed out of the valley. He saw that the Rejuvenation Valley Manor was dressed up. Although it wasn't decorated with lanterns like it was the new year, it seemed that a lot of effort had been put into it. At the manor's entrance, a group of people were holding musical instruments and playing with all their might. The music was coming from there. Valley Master Nye had changed into a new set of clothes. Behind him were Nye Qianyu, Fei He, Mu Qingxian, and the others. Even Nye Qianrong, Yu Zhonglin, Nye Qianxiu, and Chang Xing were slightly behind, waiting in front of the manor's entrance. When he looked at the small path again, he saw a caravan of about 10 carriages coming along the small path towards Rejuvenation Valley. When he looked carefully, there were about 20 youths dressed in martial attire on the left and right sides of the caravan. All of them had long swords hanging from their waists. They were in high spirits as they rode on horseback to guard the sides. In particular, there was a slightly larger carriage in the middle of the caravan. There were even more people guarding it with a professional appearance. Zhang Xiaohua frowned. The curtain of the carriage was covered. If he wanted to see, he would have to look into the carriage. However, rashly releasing his divine sense into someone else's carriage didn't seem like a gentleman's act. Just as he was hesitating, he suddenly saw an abnormally white hand stretch out from the carriage and gently lift the curtain. A graceful woman wearing a veil on her face walked out. She raised her head to look at the distant Rejuvenation Valley, and seemed to ask the person next to her. At this time, a short and fat man also immediately came down from a carriage behind the caravan. He was dressed in an official's robe. He jumped onto a horse and rushed to the front. With a face full of smiles, he explained something to the woman. This woman seemed to be the messenger of the fragrant religion. Zhang Xiaohua's spiritual sense hovered in front of the pure white veil for a long time, but it was unable to penetrate it. Not long after, she withdrew her spiritual sense. She would be able to see it in a short while. Now, the most important thing for Zhang Xiaohua was the pill in front of her. Putting aside the fact that Zhang Xiaohua had already seen the people from the cult of fragrance through her divine sense, Valley Master Nye, who was at the entrance of Rejuvenation Valley Manor, had an anxious expression on his face. Earlier, he had received a tip-off that the cult of fragrance's emissary would be arriving at Rejuvenation Valley today. Early in the morning, he had tidied up and prepared a welcoming ceremony according to past practice. However, looking at the time, it was already late. Why had the emissary not arrived yet? Just then, a rider galloped over. It was a guard from Rejuvenation Valley. When he arrived, he shouted, "Valley Head, the envoy from the incense order has arrived on the small path. He will arrive in approximately the time it takes for half a stick of incense to burn." Valley Master Nye nodded and shouted to the side, "Prepare the ceremony and welcome the envoy." Next to them, the sound of a string instrument became louder than before. Then Valley Master Nye said, "Everyone, follow this old man to welcome the envoy." After speaking, he led everyone from Rejuvenation Valley to the small path to welcome the envoy. When they arrived at the small path, the cult of fragrance's carriage was also in sight. Valley Master Nye no longer went forward to welcome them. He only left an empty space in front of the small path and quietly waited. When the cult of fragrance's carriage arrived, it stopped. The short and fat man wearing the official's robes rode up from behind. When he saw Valley Master Nye, he laughed and said, "Old Nye, we haven't seen each other for a few years. How is your health?" When Valley Master Nye saw the fat man, a smile appeared on his face. He quickly stepped forward and shouted, "Manager Yang, how are you? This old man heard the cries of magpies early in the morning and thought that you had come. See, you really did come." Valley Master Nye stepped forward and reached out to grab the reins of his horse. Manager Yang jumped down and reached out to grab Valley Master Nye's hand as if they were old friends who had been separated for a long time. Valley Master Nye looked at the familiar face and said, This old man can't be compared to old brother Yang. You live in an immortal realm and live the life of an immortal. These past few years can be considered to be thanks to old brother's blessings. Everything has been fine. When Manager Yang heard this, he laughed loudly and said, Immortals are also made by humans. Moreover, I am not an immortal. My entire life is a life of toil. How can it compare to old brother who monopolizes this valley that is like spring all year round and is free and unfettered? Then, he said in a low voice, Old brother Nye, I heard that Rejuvenation Valley had some difficult times before the new year. Why didn't you think to inform old brother Nye? We've known each other for decades. Although we only meet once every few years, it's only right for us to reach out when we can. Valley Master Nye raised his head and looked at the carriages that were gradually stopping. He also said in a low voice, I also know that it is not easy for old brother to come out. Our Rejuvenation Valley should take care of things that we can take care of ourselves. If we have to find old brother just because of a little commotion, then wouldn't old brother lose face? When Manager Yang heard this, his expression changed. He gave a thumbs up and said, Old brother Nye is indeed a good man. No wonder our hall master thinks highly of you. With this kind of bearing, old brother Nye can't catch up. Valley Master Nye laughed mischievously and said, I wouldn't dare. Then, he looked at the carriages that had stopped and said, However, old brother Yang, this time there really is a difficult matter that needs your help. Eh? Manager Yang was greatly surprised and said, This seems to be the first time old brother has asked me for help. If it wasn't an extremely difficult matter, you wouldn't have asked? At the same time, he also looked at the carriages that had stopped and said in a low voice, We'll talk about this later. Then, he said in a clear voice, Let's go, Valley Master Nye. I'll take you to meet the envoy of the fragrant sect. Valley Master Nye also nodded and said, I have the same intention. As he spoke, a Rejuvenation Valley disciple caught Manager Yang's horse. Valley Master Nye followed Manager Yang and walked straight to the carriage in the middle of the carriages. Before he could even reach the carriage, Zhang Xiaohua's spiritual consciousness saw the masked woman open the carriage's curtain and walk out, standing high above the carriage. Manager Yang and Valley Master Nye quickly walked forward. Manager Yang introduced, Valley Master Nye, this is the envoy this time. I am the inner disciple of the fragrant sect, Lord Peacock Kong. Valley Master Nye didn't dare to be negligent. He bowed deeply and said, This old man, Rejuvenation Valley Master Nye Shui, greets Lord Kong. The masked Lord Kong slightly raised his hand and said softly, Valley Master Nye is too polite. I've heard Yang Yao talk about Valley Master Nye on the way here. Rejuvenation Valley is flourishing with each passing day under Valley Master Nye's leadership. There is a new atmosphere that has opened this Lord's eyes. Furthermore, Rejuvenation Valley has been providing assistance to the Fragrant Sect for thousands of years and has benefited the Fragrant Sect greatly. Before we came, my master instructed us to express our gratitude to Rejuvenation Valley. Lord Kong's voice wasn't loud, but everyone present could hear him clearly. It was as if he was speaking next to their ears. Moreover, his words revealed an incomparable majesty and unquestionable authority. Valley Master Nye heard this and immediately bowed. I don't dare. Lord Kong is too polite. Your master is also too polite. It is my Rejuvenation Valley's honor to have the opportunity to work for the Fragrant Sect. Although Lord Kong expressed his gratitude, he didn't seem to be grateful at all. When he heard Valley Master Nye's reply, he was very satisfied and nodded. He didn't say anything else and returned to the carriage. When Manager Yang saw this, he smiled and said, All right, Valley Master Nye, Lord Kong must be tired from the journey. Would Lord Kong please enter the manor and rest early? After we settle the matters of Rejuvenation Valley in the afternoon, we still have to depart early tomorrow morning. Valley Master Nye also nodded and said, Everything has been arranged. Lord Kong, Manager Yang, please rest in the valley. When he finished speaking, the welcoming ceremony dispersed and a large road was opened in the middle. Lord Kong's carriage didn't stand on ceremony and sped through first. Manager Yang and Valley Master Nia both walked and followed at the side. The other carriages also followed. One after another, they entered the manor. Nie Qianyu and the others didn't even see the face of the fragrant sex envoy. They carefully followed the carriage and returned to the manor. Rejuvenation Valley had received the envoys of the fragrant sect for hundreds of thousands of years. They had long been familiar with all kinds of rules. They had even received Manager Yang for dozens of years. There was no need to explain everything in detail. Manager Yang and Valley Master Nia carefully waited on Lord Kong. After arranging for him to enter the loft where Rejuvenation Valley received the envoys of the fragrant sect, the two walked hand in hand to Rejuvenation Hall. Valley Master Nia didn't dare to sit and insisted on inviting Manager Yang to sit. Manager Yang repeatedly waved his hand and said, "Brother Nia, since Lord Kong isn't here, I won't be courteous with you. We've been friends for dozens of years. You're the Valley Master of Rejuvenation Valley. You should act as a host. You haven't even let me taste this 100-flower wine. How can you give this seat to me? Brother, you should sit at the head." Seeing Manager Yang refuse, Valley Master Nia muttered to himself and simply placed the two chairs together. He smiled and said, "Brother Yang, how about this?" Manager Yang clapped his hands and said, "Since it's like this every year, Brother Nia, next time I come, I'll just place two chairs." "No problem. Brother Yang can be considered half the master of Rejuvenation Valley. There's nothing to say." Valley Master Nia laughed brightly. The two sat down and drank the fragrant tea. Manager Yang smiled and said, "Valley Master Nia, although we're friends, I have official duties to attend to. It's better for us to talk about official matters first. It won't be too late for us to chat after this year's Medicine Boy handover. AI, Rejuvenation Valley's 100-flower wine is really good. I don't know if I'll be able to drink it again in the future." Valley Master Nia was a bit absent-minded and said in a low voice, "Brother Yang, what do you mean? Didn't I already teach you the recipe for the 100-flower wine 10 years ago? Could it be that it hasn't been brewed yet?" Manager Yang curled his lips and said, "I've already obtained your recipe and had my subordinates brew it according to the recipe. However, the wine that was brewed just doesn't taste as good as the one from Rejuvenation Valley. Don't you think that's strange?" Valley Master Nia smiled and said, "Then tonight, Brother Yang should drink a few more cups. Also, I've prepared quite a bit. Brother can take it away when you leave." Manager Yang was overjoyed when he heard this and said, "If that's the case, then thank you, brother." "Oh, right," Brother said that there was something difficult. "Should I say it now? Or wait until after the Medicine Boy handover? Calm, there are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. -3. Chapter 496. When Valley Master Nia saw this, he looked around and said in a low voice, "I remember when Brother Yang came here 10 years ago, you seem to have said that you like divine weapons very much." Manager Yang was stunned and then his eyes lit up. "Brother Nia has a good memory. That year it was just a drunken nonsense, but you still remember it clearly." Valley Master Nia smiled and took out a short sword from his chest. It was about 3 inches long, and had a simple scabbard with green spots. He handed it in front of Manager Yang and said, "Brother Yang, can you help me appraise it?" Manager Yang's eyes had never left the scabbard since the short sword appeared. Seeing Valley Master Nia hand it over, he didn't hesitate and reached out to take it. First, he carefully looked at its appearance. Then, he held the scabbard with one hand and the hilt with the other. His hands slightly exerted force, and with a light sound, the bright short sword was pulled out of the scabbard. It was like a flash of lightning on the ground. Manager Yang's eyes first squinted, and then widened. After looking at it for a while, 2 words came out of his mouth. "Good sword." Then he reluctantly handed it to Valley Master Nia and said, "Brother Nia, where did you get this sword? What's its name?" Valley Master Nia didn't take the sword and only smiled. "This sword was accidentally found by weapon forging sex boss C in the ruins of their sect. It doesn't have a name. How rare. There's actually such a sharp nameless short sword in this world." It's comparable to the 4 famous swords of Jianghu. Unfortunately. Unfortunately what? Valley Master Nya said. Unfortunately you can't play with it for a long time? TSK. Manager Yang smacked his lips but didn't admit it. Valley Master Nya used his hand to push the dagger back to Manager Yang and said, Ever since I heard you say that you like divine weapons, I've been paying attention to it. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to do so until last year when I heard that Boss C had obtained this nameless dagger. I immediately thought of little brother, so I specially went to weapon forging sect to ask Boss C for it. I want to give it to little brother today, so you don't have to be polite. This? Manager Yang was a little unnatural. He handed the dagger back and said, As the saying goes, one should not accept a reward for nothing. Although we brothers have a good relationship, it is really not good for a brother to accept such a valuable item. Valley Master Nya said with a straight face. Little brother Yang is really treating me as an outsider. I just said that you are half the master of Rejuvenation Valley. Let's not even talk about the nameless sword, even if it is one of the 4 great swords, it can't compare to our friendship. You can rest assured and accept it. Seeing Valley Head Nya's angry expression, Manager Yang went with the flow and said, Since Brother Nya says so, then as a brother, I won't hold back. However, Brother Nya, don't treat me as an outsider. If there's anything that's troubling you, just tell me. If I can do it, I will definitely do it for you. Valley Master Nya had given away this precious short sword just for this sentence. Now that he heard it, how could he not be happy? He only said, This matter is difficult, but it is also not difficult. It depends on whether little brother Yang is willing to do it or not. Of course, if little brother Yang feels that it is not appropriate, just tell this old man. As a brother, I will definitely not make things difficult for you. Finishing speaking, he walked to the entrance of Rejuvenation Hall and waved his hand. Not long after, 9, 11 or 12-year-old boys walked in a row from outside the hall. They all had red lips and white teeth and had a dignified appearance. The 9 boys entered the door and lined up in a row, bowing together. Looking at the 9 boys, Manager Yang had a puzzled expression. He looked at Valley Head Nya who was walking back and said in a low voice, What is it? Little brother Nya, are there few people this year? There are only 9 of them. Is this what's troubling you, brother? Valley Head Nya shook his head. Little brother Yang, take a closer look. What do you think of these 9 boys? All right. Since this was official business of the cult of incense, Manager Yang didn't dare to be careless. He first walked closer and carefully looked at them one by one. He even reached out to pinch their bones and nodded frequently. Then, he asked about the knowledge of medicinal herbs and alchemy one by one. The 9 boys all answered fluently without any awkwardness. After the inspection, Valley Head Nya waved his hand and dismissed the 9 boys. Manager Yang then smiled. Little brother Nya, I really envy your Rejuvenation Valley. Every time you have such talented boys, no wonder my cult of incense had to look for boys from your place. Valley Head Nya said, Are you satisfied with these 9 boys? Yes, I am very satisfied. Little brother Nya, if this is your problem, I can answer you. I can definitely help you with this. Valley Head Nya smiled bitterly. Boss Yang is considerate. This old man thanks you. However, the matter is not that simple. Listen to me first. Then, he invited Manager Yang to drink a mouthful of tea and said, Little brother Yang just mentioned the difficulties my Rejuvenation Valley encountered last year. I presume you already know the reason. That's right, Manager Yang said with a smile. Although my fragrant school doesn't pay much attention to worldly affairs, we're still somewhat aware of the matter concerning Rejuvenation Valley. However, the mastermind behind this is truly well hidden. Even the people in Carefree City haven't been able to find any clues. Of course, if old brother Nya is interested, I can return to the fragrant school and report to the hallmaster. Perhaps he'll have a better method to uncover the enemy. Valley Head Nya shook his head and said, Since it is the enemy, they will eventually show themselves. There is no need to disturb the hallmaster's meditation over such a small matter. Manager Yang also nodded and praised. Little brother Nye is very scheming. The martial arts competition for a spouse is a plan that kills two birds with one stone. First, it draws the attention of all the forces in Jianghu to Rejuvenation Valley so that the enemy won't dare to make a move against Rejuvenation Valley openly. Second, it has also found a good husband for little you. As a younger brother, I have no choice but to admire you. At this point, Manager Yang suddenly thought, "That's right, why hasn't little you come? No matter what, I have watched this girl grow up. Every time she comes, she calls me uncle and is very enthusiastic. How come I don't see her this time? I, as her uncle, have already come to the inner hall. Why hasn't she come to pay her respects?" AI. Valley Head Nye sighed deeply and said, "Little you is happy to know that you are coming. However, I said that this difficult matter is related to her. It won't be too late to have her come to pay her respects after this old man has explained the matter clearly." Eh? Manager Yang was even more surprised. Several months have passed since the martial arts competition for a spouse. Our little you also. Oh, that's not right. I heard from our spies that little you's husband seems to be quite young and hasn't married yet. That must be it. I haven't heard the news of Rejuvenation Valley holding a wedding. However, what matter is there that requires me to take action? Manager Yang was a bit confused. Valley Head Nye muttered to himself for a moment, and then said the words that he had agreed on with Yi Yan and Zhang Xiaohua. After listening to Valley Head Nye's words, although Manager Yang's expression didn't change, his eyes flickered as if he was thinking about something. After a long time, he sighed and said, "Old brother Nye, we have been friends for decades and you have never asked me for anything. To be honest, how would I dare to agree to your request? You also know why my school of fragrance has been looking for people from you for so many years. First, it is because your Rejuvenation Valley's medicine boys have good qualifications. They are hardworking and can easily be used. It saves time and effort compared to us looking for them ourselves. Second, your Rejuvenation Valley knows everything about you and the people you send are trustworthy. Your son-in-law is still an outsider. He only used the time it takes for 3 incense sticks to burn on the arena to win the competition. This only proves that his martial arts are good, but it doesn't prove that he is a stable and reliable person." Valley Head Nye's expression didn't change as if he had already expected this. He smiled apologetically and said, "Old brother Yang, you are right. Reliable and trustworthy are the only criteria for us to choose medicine boys. I understand this very well. So when I wanted to recommend Xiaoyao to your sect, my Rejuvenation Valley had already investigated his background clearly. Xiaoyao came from Beta's school, far in the north." Hearing this, Manager Yang frowned. "Beta's school? How come I have never heard of it?" However, he immediately smiled and said, "There are too many small sects in the Jianghu. You kill me and I destroy you. Who knows how many sects are born and destroyed every day?" Valley Head Nye nodded and said, "I have indeed never heard of this Beidou school. However, although this Ren Xiaoyao is still young, he is indeed a good and chivalrous child." Manager Yang was stunned again. "How do you explain this?" Thus, Valley Head Nye explained the matter of Zhang Xiaohua escorting Nye Qianyu back in full detail. When Manager Yang heard this, his face was filled with joy and he said with a smile, "I was wondering why old brother was so assured to let an outsider become your son-in-law so easily. So there's this layer of responsibility involved. If what you said is true, Ren Xiaoyao escorting Xiaoyu back to the valley for thousands of miles, this righteousness and this kindness is indeed not easy." Then he laughed coldly. "Even if the Big Dipper sect is a nameless sect, as long as my fragrant cult pays attention to them, it won't be a problem. As long as they leave their names in my fragrant cult, when they return to Jianghu, their Big Dipper sect will also become famous." When Valley Head Nye heard this, his heart was filled with joy. "I knew old brother would understand my thoughts. If it is not a person who can be trusted, how would I dare to casually invite him to marry into my family? And then casually recommend him to your sect?" Manager Yang was not in a hurry to agree and said, "Where is Xiaoyu? Let Xiaoyu come over. I have not seen this niece for a long time." Valley Head Nye smiled. Xiao Yu is already waiting at the door. Wait here. When he finished speaking, he walked to the door and replaced Nie Qianyu, who had been waiting at the door, with Hui Chenhao. When Nie Qianyu saw the smile on her father's face, she knew that the matter was settled. She was half happy and half worried. She forced a smile on her face, and quickly walked to the front of the hall to pay her respects. When Manager Yang saw Nie Qianyu walk into the hall, he was obviously stunned. It was only when Nie Qianyu paid her respects that he woke up from a dream. He quickly got up and helped her up. He looked at her from head to toe and sighed. Xiao Yu, your father told me about your situation a few years ago. It is my fault as your uncle that I did not take it to heart. I only thought that your father was overly worried and overly concerned about his children. Now it seems that it is true. This year you... Manager Yang frowned and started counting. Nie Qianyu smiled. Uncle Yang, I am already 16 years old this year. Manager Yang slapped his forehead and said, Of course, you are already a 16-year-old lady. Then, he looked regretfully at Nie Qianyu's body that was still developing and said, But compared to a few years ago, there is not much change. -3. Chapter 497. Manager Yang's words made Nie Qianyu a little sad, but Manager Yang had watched her grow up and was also a member of the fragrant religion. Nie Qianyu treated him as an elder, so she could only force a smile and said, Maybe the next time Uncle Yang comes, I will have grown up. Manager Yang smiled bitterly and said, If there is a next time, I will definitely help little you see if there are any good pills when I return to the fragrant religion. Unfortunately, this is the last time I go down the mountain. You may not see me in the future. Ah? Not only Nie Qianyu, but Valley Master Nie was also shocked. Brother Yang, why is that? Manager Yang forced himself to be spirited. There is no special reason. It is just that I am old and some things are beyond my ability. It is also time for the younger generation to come out and gain experience. Brother Nie, I have been hinting again and again just now, but you didn't understand. It seems that you are really absent-minded. Valley Master Nie said awkwardly. Brother is right. This is the first time, also the last time I ask you to do something. I am very nervous. Nie Qianyu was also at the side and pleaded. This is also my wish. Uncle Yang, please fulfill my wish. Manager Yang looked at Nie Qianyu and said with a smile, Little you, don't forget. If your ideal husband doesn't go to the fragrant religion, after 2 or 3 years, even if I can't get you elixirs, you can still have your wedding night and live a happy life. But if I take him away, in these 2 or 3 years, you won't be able to see your husband. Can you bear to do that? Moreover, there are many female disciples in the fragrant religion. Aren't you afraid? Nie Qianyu's face was crimson and her eyes were full of hesitation. All of this was seen by Manager Yang. Nie Qianyu bowed and said, Uncle Yang, please fulfill my wish. Although I am very reluctant to let my husband leave, he is still young. If he is blindly greedy for love, even if the foundation of Rejuvenation Valley is given to him, he may not be able to develop it. Only by putting him in the fragrant religion can he really learn the essence of alchemy. When he comes back, he will be able to take over father's mantle. As for the female disciples of the fragrant religion, since Uncle Yang is in the fragrant religion, why should I worry so much? Manager Yang heard and laughed. Little you is still so good at talking. Uncle Yang is happy. Uncle, you agree to this matter? Nie Qianyu said happily. Manager Yang shook his head. This is not a small matter. I still have to discuss it with your father carefully. Manager Yang asked Nie Qianyu to come in. Firstly, he wanted to see her. Most importantly, he wanted to see Nie Qianyu's reaction and see if Valley Master Nie was telling the truth. Since he had already verified his thoughts, he naturally had to discuss it with Valley Master Nie. Seeing this, Nie Qianyu looked at her father, bowed and left. After Nie Qianyu left, Manager Yang shook his head and said, I understand brother's painstaking efforts. Little you looks 12 or 13 years old. It is indeed not easy to get married immediately. If Ren Xiaoyao. Oh, that's right. Just saying that Ren Xiaoyao is young. How old is he? 15 years old. Valley Master Nye replied. Oh, 15 years old. He is a good match for little you. But as a medicine boy, he is much older. That's why Brother Yang still needs to deal with them. Valley Master Nye took out a jade box from his sleeve and handed it over. Manager Yang did not understand and asked curiously, "What is this?" Valley Master Nye smiled. "This is the carefree grass that grows in Rejuvenation Valley." "Ah?" Manager Yang exclaimed. "Is it that 300-year-old carefree grass? But you are willing to pick it?" Valley Master Nye said. "Herbs are meant to be picked. If you don't pick it now, you will have to pick it sooner or later. This carefree grass is 300 years old this year. It is easy to use. Bring it to the hall master and say that it is a gift from me. I hope he can make an exception." "Ah, Brother Nye, I don't want to criticize you. There are thousands of paths to success in the world. Why do you insist on the incense cult? Haven't you seen how many medicine boys that were sent to the incense cult have returned to Jianghu? As far as I know, it is only the genius from 100 years ago that was recorded in the ancient records. In the past few decades, the only one who was able to become an outer disciple was Lu Lihong. You have to know that there is still a long way to go from an outer disciple to Jianghu. Even if it is time to Jianghu, you still have to break through the array." "Break through the array?" Valley Master Nye asked curiously. "How come I have never heard of it?" Manager Yang smiled bitterly. "This is the internal affairs of the incense cult. How would you know? Don't think that it is easy to travel Jianghu just because I come out every few years. The disciples of the Pill Repository Hall are different from other disciples. We have missions to go out and collect herbs and medicine boys. This mission is only temporary. If your son-in-law is able to reach the stage of Jianghu, his martial arts must be much higher than mine. Only by passing the array of the incense cult can he pass the assessment and obtain the qualifications to travel Jianghu." Then he sighed and said, "Usually, at this point, an outer disciple's martial arts are already very high. They are allowed to roam Jianghu and also have the qualifications to be promoted to an inner disciple. But in Chuanxiang cult, the difference in treatment and martial arts between an inner disciple and an outer disciple is too great. Every outer disciple strives to become an inner disciple as their goal. I cannot guarantee that your son-in-law will pass the assessment when he arrives at the incense cult. If he does not pass the assessment, he will have to stay in the incense cult for the rest of his life. Even if he passes the assessment, I cannot guarantee that your son-in-law will still be thinking about your position in Rejuvenation Valley or our family's little you. After all, you are not in the incense cult and do not know how great the temptation of being an inner disciple is." Valley Master Nye's face was full of astonishment as he said, "I naturally know the difference between your sect's inner and outer sect disciples. Lady Peacock Kong is an inner sect disciple. She is much younger than you, but you still follow her lead and let her be the official envoy. Of course her position is higher than the inner sect disciples. But this is the first time I have heard of this. Let me think about it." In fact, there was no need to think about this. Zhang Xiaohua only wanted to enter the incense cult, and everything else had nothing to do with Rejuvenation Valley. Even if Zhang Xiaohua would not come to Rejuvenation Valley, it was still uncertain. But since Manager Yang had said this, if Valley Master Nye did not pretend to think about it, it would seem too fake. Valley Master Nye walked out for a while and returned not long after. His expression was dignified as he said, "Brother Yang, I have already told Little Yu about the key points. Little Yu insists on sending Xiao Yao to the incense cult. I think this matter is settled. Brother Yang, please take good care of Xiao Yao. Also, when you return to the sect, please take good care of Xiao Yao. During his final assessment, please help him if you can and let him return as soon as possible." Manager Yang smiled bitterly. "Brother Nye, what kind of role do you think I have in the sect? Coming out is just a fox borrowing the tiger's might. I have no say in the sect." Valley Master Nye cupped his hands and said, "This old man knows that this matter is very difficult. Brother, please deliver these words to the hall master. Rejuvenation Valley will definitely not forget the Hall Master's grace. Manager Yang gritted his teeth and said, Fine. Since this is the first time Brother Nye has asked me, I cannot refuse you. In any case, this is the last time I will come to Rejuvenation Valley. The matters of Jianghu will have no fate with me in the future. Then I might as well give brother face and agree to this matter. After speaking for a long time, Manager Yang finally nodded. Valley Master Nia was overjoyed and hurriedly bowed. He turned his head and shouted, Little Yu, why haven't you come and thank Uncle Yang? Nie Qianyu, who was outside the door, heard this and ran in with a face full of joy. She bowed deeply again and repeatedly said, Thank you, Uncle Yang, thank you, Uncle Yang. Manager Yang seemed to like Nie Qianyu very much. He chuckled and helped her up, saying, This girl, what are you thanking me for? Uncle doesn't have anything to help you with. It's just that I don't know whether this is a blessing or a curse. Little Yu, if anything happens to your husband in the future, don't blame me. Nie Qianyu smiled and said, Ease can't thank Uncle enough. How can I blame you? To be able to cultivate in the aroma cult and become an outer disciple is Big Brother Ren's glory. I thank Uncle Yang on behalf of Big Brother Ren. Hearing this, Manager Yang's heart moved and he asked, That's right. Little Yu, I've been here for half a day and this matter has been settled. Why hasn't your Big Brother Ren come out and let me take a look? As your uncle, should I help you check? This? Nie Qianyu hesitated for a moment. Big Brother Ren is temporarily not in Rejuvenation Valley. Manager Yang frowned and looked at Valley Head Nye. The emissary will be leaving Rejuvenation Valley early in the morning tomorrow. If Ren Xiaoyao is not in Rejuvenation Valley, how will he depart with us? Valley Head Nye smiled apologetically again. This is also a difficult matter. However, Nephew Ren will be returning tomorrow night. If it were any other day, we would treat this as a difficult matter. However, this is Brother Yang's last visit to Rejuvenation Valley. If we delay for one more day and allow this old man to perform the duties of a host, I'm sure Lord Kong won't blame us too much. Manager Yang had a bitter smile on his face. Old Brother Nye, this isn't just one difficult task, it's two. It's really one more difficult than the other. The previous task was just to make an exception for my hall master, but this time, you're directly looking for Lord Kong. Sigh, if it were any other emissary in the past, it would be extremely difficult to change the time. However, I've followed Lord Kong all the way here and feel that Lord Kong is somewhat different from the other inner disciples. He's very approachable. Anyway, this is also my last trip. Let me talk to Lord Kong tonight. Perhaps there will be some turning point. When Nie Qianyu and Valley Head Nye heard this, they were both overjoyed. Valley Head Nye was beaming with joy. He was about to obtain 5 years' worth of cultivation. How could he not be excited? At this time, Manager Yang spoke again. However, I can't guarantee whether it will succeed or not. If Lord Kong insists on leaving tomorrow morning, Brother Nye, what you said to me just now would have been in vain. Valley Head Nye nodded and said, It should be so. Thus, Nie Qianyu retreated. Manager Yang picked up the teacup and drank a mouthful of tea. Unfortunately, before he could swallow the tea, he heard Valley Head Nye say, Brother Yang, there's still one more thing. Pooh! Manager Yang immediately spat out the tea in his mouth and his expression changed greatly. -3. Chapter 498. Manager Yang's expression changed greatly. He slammed the teacup on the table and frowned. Valley Master Nye, you and I have known each other for many years. You must know that I am responsible for these two matters. If the hall master or the emissary is unhappy, there is no need to report it to a higher level. Just them alone can consign me to eternal damnation. What you said just now, I only reluctantly agreed because we have known each other for many years and this was the last time I saw you. Don't make things difficult for me again and again. Valley Master Nye heard this and his face became lonely. He said helplessly, Brother Yang, I am not trying to make things difficult for you. Every family has their own problems. Listen to me. Then, he told him about the powerful matter and asked, Qianxiu's nephew is the first on the left. Does Brother Yang remember him? Manager Yang thought for a moment and said, Yes, I remember him a little. He is above average. Then, he narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment before asking, Brother Nye, are you confident? Valley Master Nye heard Manager Yang call him Brother Nye, and his heart was filled with guilt. He said, I have seen this child since he was young. I know him well. Manager Yang sighed and said, Brother Nye, you didn't have to tell me about this matter. My fragrant religion has never tested the medicine boys you send here. We only trust in Rejuvenation Valley's reputation. Since you said it today, it can be seen that you treat me and the fragrant religion with sincerity. I will pretend you didn't say anything. How about it? Valley Master Nye shook his head and said, This is not appropriate. If I could do this, I wouldn't have said this to you. I would have done it behind your back. But this way, I am setting a trap for you and making you take the risk for no reason. If something happens in the future, you will also be guilty of negligence. My idea is that when you arrive at the fragrant religion, you should quietly tell the hallmaster about this matter and let the hallmaster decide how to deal with it. I am doing this for my daughter. AI, the hearts of parents in the world are pitiful. Manager Yang sighed. Brother Nye, you have to take out the best 100-flower wine from Rejuvenation Valley tonight. Ha. Valley Master Nye also laughed loudly. The matter that he had been worried about for months until last night had finally been resolved. How could he not be happy? He then added, Like I said before, I've already prepared your portion. However, I don't know if this is the last time you're here. Later, I'll tell them to bring you more of the best 100-flower wine. Good. Manager Yang smiled and said, This is very good. As he spoke, he took the jade box that Valley Master Nye had just placed on the table and carefully put it into his bosom. He mocked. Hall Master has been thinking about your daylily for more than 10 years and now he finally got what he wanted. If he knew that you gave him a job, I don't know if he should be happy or angry. Valley Master Nye chuckled but didn't say anything. The two drank tea for a while. Valley Master Nye suddenly moved closer to Manager Yang's ear and asked softly, Brother Yang, I've always had a question in my heart that I wanted to ask you. However, I didn't know if I should open my mouth. I've been holding it in for more than 10 years. If I don't ask today, I reckon that I won't have the chance to ask. Manager Yang was surprised and asked curiously, If you have something to ask, just say it. If you feel that it's inappropriate, then it's better not to ask. I reckon that I won't be able to answer you. Valley Master Nye chuckled again. But if I don't ask, I'll always feel that there's something and my heart won't be at ease. Manager Yang was annoyed. Then ask? I'll see if I can answer you. Valley Master Nye raised his eyes and looked around. He whispered, I want to ask, every time your spreading fragrance cult comes to Rejuvenation Valley, why do you always stay in Worry City for a day? Can't you just come directly to my valley? Hearing this, Manager Yang's expression changed. He whispered, Brother Nye, it seems that your curiosity isn't small. Your patience is also very strong. This has been a rule for more than 10 years and you're only asking now. However, I'll pretend that you didn't ask this question. AI, forget it. Actually, I'm also staying in Worry City with the emissary. I don't know anything. The matters in Worry City are all handled by the inner sect disciples. What they do, I don't know at all. So whether you ask this question or not is the same. Then he whispered, These matters are related to my cult. When the new manager comes, Brother Nye, don't mention it. You'll get yourself into trouble. Valley Master Nye smiled. Thank you for the reminder, Brother Yang. I'm only asking because of our decades of friendship. AI, it's my fault for talking too much. If I didn't tell you so much, you wouldn't have caused so much trouble for me. Valley Master Nye shook his head. Even if you didn't say it, you're the most familiar with the spreading fragrance cult. If I don't look for you, who else can I look for? Manager Yang laughed. Good. Just based on brother's words, I'm worthy of our many years of friendship. Good. It's getting late and the banquet is ready. Brother, when do you think we'll start? Manager Yang thought for a moment and said, Master Kong doesn't like too many people. I don't think she'll attend this banquet. Then he waved his hand and said, Forget it. I'll do it to the end. Brother Nye, you wait here. I'll go ask Master Kong and explain this matter to her. That way, you and I can have a drink to our heart's content. Valley Master Nye was overjoyed when he heard this. However, he whispered, Brother Yang, this is the first time I've seen Master Kong. What hobbies does she have? My Rejuvenation Valley can prepare some gifts? Manager Yang waved his hand and said, That won't be necessary. Master Kong is an inner sect disciple. She has always been noble and unsullied. She doesn't care about worldly affairs. If you give her something, she'll be disgusted. You just need to pick up some fruits and vegetables from Rejuvenation Valley and give them to her. Valley Master Nye smiled and said, Then I'll do as Brother Yang says. I'll first have the servants prepare the banquet and then give the fresh and precious fruits and vegetables to Master Kong. Manager Yang nodded and walked out of Rejuvenation Hall. He had someone take him to see Master Kong. Seeing Manager Yang leave, Nye Qianyu couldn't wait to run into Rejuvenation Hall and asked, Father, has everything been arranged? Valley Master Nye wiped the sweat off his forehead and let out a long breath. He said as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. 10 stops have become 9 stops. Nye Qianyu asked curiously, What's the remaining 1 stop? Valley Master Nye didn't answer directly. Sigh, at that time I was thinking too lightly. I thought that with my friendship with your Uncle Yang, I would definitely be able to help Nephew Ren. Now it seems that it's not that simple. If it wasn't for the fact that this was your Uncle Yang's last time in Jianghu, I don't think he would have agreed. Nye Qianyu also had a lingering fear. Yes, Father. We didn't think that it would be so difficult to be an outer sect disciple in spreading fragrance cult. If you're not an outer sect disciple, you can't even take half a step out of spreading fragrance cult. We were so naive to think that the hall master of spreading pill hall would let go of him. We almost couldn't justify ourselves. Haha, it's also Nephew Ren's good fortune that allowed him to encounter such a fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, it would be unimaginable. I reckon that Nephew Ren would definitely complain that we left him in this valley for many days. Nye Qianyu shook her head. He won't. Brother Ren is the most considerate. If he knew of our difficulties, he would definitely understand. Yes, you're right. However, what we need to consider now is whether Lady Kong will agree to stay in our Rejuvenation Valley for 1 more day tomorrow. If she can't... Nye Qianyu was resolute and decisive. If she can't, let Brother Ren leave with Uncle Yang tomorrow. Although the Crimson Flame pill is important, Brother Ren's matter is even more important. We can't delay other people's matters because of our selfish desires. Valley Master Nye smiled and said, That's what I think too. Nye Qianyu blinked her eyes. Brother Ren still has a set of ingredients for the Crimson Flame pill. If he can't make it this time, he will definitely send Father a set of completed pills next time. Don't you think so? You little girl, don't say these words. It makes it seem like your father is scheming against others. That's right. This is an open conspiracy. Why can't I say it? Okay. An open conspiracy is an open conspiracy. You should quickly take a look at the fruits and vegetables for Lady Kong. Serve her well. It's better than any open conspiracy. Nye Qianyu smiled in response and ran out cheerfully, leaving behind Valley Head Nye's loving gaze. Just as Nye Qianyu walked out, the anxious Nye Qianxiu and Chang Xing walked in. At the same time, at Lord Kong's place, in a clean and simple hall, Lord Kong did not sit on a chair. Instead, he laid out a huge white blanket in the hall and placed a low tea table on top of the blanket. Lord Kong simply sat on the blanket, and from time to time, he would pick up the fruits on the tea table to taste. Manager Yang stood respectfully at one side and told him in detail about how Valley Master Nye wanted his son-in-law to act as a medicine boy. However, Lady Kong said lazily, This is your pill expansion hall's matter. It has nothing to do with me. Whether you did the right thing or not will be decided by your hall master. Why do you need to report it to me? Soon after, he seemed to have realized something. Oh, according to the tip-off, his son-in-law is only 14 or 15 years old. However, his body is as tall as an adult. You're afraid that I will find out something and question you. Manager Yang smiled and said, You are the emissary of our sect. These matters must be reported to you. Lady Kong waved his hand. I don't have that kind of interest. Just do what you need to do. Oh, that's right. This young man actually had the ability to defeat Soaring Dragon Mountain Villa's Sword Prince. His martial arts are also quite good. Call him over and let me see. Manager Yang secretly complained. I'll let Lady Kong know that the martial arts of the people of Jianghu are just three-legged cats. Their fame is all exaggerated. They can't even compare to our outer sect disciples. Think about it. A 14 or 15-year-old youth can defeat the famous Sword Prince of Jianghu. How much true martial arts do you think this Sword Prince has? This Ren Xiaoyao also comes from a nameless small sect. How can his martial arts be compared to Lady Kong's discerning eyes? Hearing this, Lady Kong frowned. -3. Chapter 499. Hearing this, Lord Kong frowned and laughed. Hee, I forgot that the outer disciples of the cult of fragrance are all powerful in the pugilistic world. What's there to see about a minor disciple from a nameless sect? All right, I'm not going. Manager Yang secretly let out a sigh of relief and smiled apologetically. However, I did come here to discuss something with Lord Kong. Speak. Manager Yang couldn't see Lord Kong's face hidden behind the veil, nor did he know her emotions. He only probed. This is Lord Kong's first time out, but it's my last time out. I have been friends with the Valley Lord of Rejuvenation Valley for nearly 40 years. When he heard that I wouldn't be coming to Rejuvenation Valley in the future, he was very sad and insisted on making me stay here for one more day. I couldn't reject his good intentions, so I came to discuss with Lord Kong. I hope that you can empathize with Valley Lord Nye and my feelings. Moreover, this is your first time out. The scenery of Rejuvenation Valley is beautiful, and it's like spring all year round. Lord Kong didn't wait for him to finish and waved her hand. No need to say more. No matter how beautiful the scenery of Rejuvenation Valley is, how can it compare to the cult of fragrance? Although it's like spring all year round, how can it compare to our cult of fragrance? Hearing this, Manager Yang's heart shrank and he thought to himself. Marshal Nye, oh Marshal Nye, it's not that I don't want to help you. Looking at the situation, I can only let you down. Manager Yang was about to speak when he heard. Although this is my first time, it doesn't mean there won't be a second time. It doesn't matter if I don't see Rejuvenation Valley. However, you won't have a next time. Moreover, 40 years How many 40 years does a person have? Seeing that you have a close relationship with Valley Lord Nye, it's a happy thing in your life to have such an old friend. If I were to stop you for no reason, wouldn't I be too inconsiderate? Let your hall master say I'm petty. Go. You'll be leaving early in the morning the day after tomorrow. Don't forget. Manager Yang was overjoyed when he heard this and bowed. Thank you, Lord Kong. Lord Kong waved her hand, indicating for him to leave. Seeing Manager Yang leave excitedly, Lord Kong murmured, 40 years, it's enough to have one confidant. Her tone was incomparably lonely. Inside the Rejuvenation Hall, Valley Master Nye looked at Nye Qianxiu and Chang Xing, who rushed in with a cold expression. Seeing this, Nye Qianxiu didn't care. She walked forward and asked, Father, has nephew Chang Xing's matter been settled? Valley Master Nye coldly looked at them and didn't hide anything. It's already done. Your Uncle Yang agreed to take him in as a medicine boy. Hearing this, the two of them were overjoyed. Thank you, Father, for your help. Valley Master Nye nodded. Qianxiu, Changxing, this is the first and last time. Remember this. Remember, Father. Something like this will never happen again. Valley Master Nye continued. Although I have seen their strength since I was young, it was not raised by Rejuvenation Valley. I have already told your Uncle Yang that if he finds anything strange, he will immediately deal with it according to the sect rules of the fragrant religion. There is no need to consider Rejuvenation Valley's reaction. When Chang Xing heard this, his expression changed slightly. Father-in-law, please rest assured. Chang Chang is the boy's nephew. How could the boy push him into the fire pit? I'm sure nothing will happen. That's good. From now on, Chang Chang is a medicine boy of the fragrant religion. You can't casually see him anymore. Yes, father. Daughter understands. The husband and wife looked at each other and left Rejuvenation Hall together. Valley Master Nie's expression was somewhat cold. Looking at the two of them leaving, his eyes flickered. It was unknown what he was thinking about. When the two of them disappeared, he gritted his teeth and seemed to have made a decision. He put down the teacup in his hand and got up to leave quickly. But halfway there, he patted his forehead and turned to sit back in his chair. His expression was relaxed. Valley Master Nie made a hesitant appearance in Rejuvenation Hall. In Rejuvenation Valley's inner pill room, Zhang Xiaohua was still leisurely. When he saw the messenger of the fragrant religion arrive, he knew that his time in Rejuvenation Valley was limited. Whether or not Valley Master Nie could persuade the fragrant religion to take him in as a medicine boy, he would have to leave Rejuvenation Valley with them. And the only thing he had promised Rejuvenation Valley was the crimson flame pill in front of him. Therefore, he became more diligent and wanted to refine the pill as soon as possible. After all, according to Valley Master Nie's words, the fragrant religion would set off tomorrow morning as usual. Unfortunately, the way of alchemy was to progress step by step. Any shortcuts would not work. The jade slip recorded that the crimson flame pill needed 13 days to gestate. That was not even half a day less. At least, in Zhang Xiaohua's consciousness, he could vaguely see the primordial qi brewing in the pill that was gradually taking shape. There was also a little bit of bright starlight. All of this showed that the crimson flame pill had not been successfully gestated. Zhang Xiaohua was still scratching his head about this starlight. He thought hard for a long time but still could not figure out the reason. However, the slight movement and arrangement of the starlight faintly matched with the star atlas of the heavenly Tao that he had come into contact with. This was something he had discovered by chance when he was comprehending the heavenly Tao. Therefore, he faintly felt that this starlight only had benefits and no harm. Zhang Xiaohua was about to comprehend the incantation when he felt a movement in his heart. He released his consciousness and saw Nie Qianyu running towards the inner valley with a mixed expression on her face. Sigh. Zhang Xiaohua could not help but sigh and stood up. Nie Qianyu ran very quickly and anxiously. When she reached the alchemy chamber, she was already out of breath. When she saw the door of the alchemy chamber, she couldn't help but stagger and fall forward. Nie Qianyu couldn't help but cry out. But at this moment, a familiar figure appeared at the door of the alchemy chamber. It was Zhang Xiaohua, who she didn't care about. Therefore, at this moment, Nie Qianyu's heart was at peace. Because she knew that her big brother Ren would definitely not let her come to any harm as long as she was in front of him. Sure enough, Zhang Xiaohua seemed to know that Nie Qianyu would fall. The moment she flashed out of the pill room, she immediately sped up and floated towards Nie Qianyu like a floating cloud. At the last moment when Nie Qianyu fell to the ground, she stretched out her hands to support Nie Qianyu. Feeling the warmth of her hands, Nie Qianyu could not help but close her eyes. How she wished that this moment could last forever. However, when Zhang Xiaohua helped her stand steadily, the hands immediately left her. A gentle voice was heard. Little fishy, are you frightened? Don't be so anxious next time. I'm in the pill room. Where can I go? Yes, big brother Rin. You're in the pill room now, but what about in the future? Where will you be in the future? Where can I see you? Nie Qianyu closed her eyes and let out a silent cry in her heart. Seeing that Nie Qianyu's eyes were still closed, and her eyelashes were trembling slightly, Zhang Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. However, she immediately said softly, Little fishy, is there anything you need from me? Nie Qianyu opened her eyes reluctantly and looked at Zhang Xiaohua with hidden bitterness. She forced a smile and said, Congratulations, big brother Rin. Father has already told Uncle Yang of the incense cult about you. He has agreed to recommend you to be a medicine boy in the incense cult. Zhang Xiaohua was not surprised. She nodded and said, Then I have to thank Uncle Nia and you, little fishy. Just that, when can I leave? Then she looked at the pill room behind her and said regretfully, If I leave tomorrow, this batch of crimson flame pills that were about to be refined will all be wasted. Nie Qianyu lowered her head and said, Then can Big Brother Ren not go to the incense cult for the sake of pills? Zhang Xiaohua thought for a while and said apologetically, This, if it's something else, maybe it's still negotiable. But for this, I really can't. Nie Qianyu said again. Just that. I don't know what will happen in the future. Zhang Xiaohua looked at the azure sky above Rejuvenation Valley and said with disappointment, Everything is fleeting. It's better to forget each other in the pugilistic world than to help each other in times of need. After hearing this, Nie Qianyu could no longer hold back. She burst into tears and ran out while covering her face. Seeing that she was far away, she slipped again. This time, Zhang Xiaohua could not help her in time. Nie Qianyu, who had fallen to the ground, got up from the ground. She did not even have time to pat the dirt off her body. She only turned around to look at the lonely figure in front of the pill room. Wiping her tears, she walked away quickly again. Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense followed Nie Qianyu for a long time. Along the way, many disciples of Rejuvenation Valley looked at Nie Qianyu in astonishment, and made way for her. However, Nie Qianyu did not notice and walked numbly and blankly towards the peach forest. It was only when Little Orange saw that his miss was acting strangely and ran out of the peach blossom nunnery that Zhang Xiaohua retracted his divine sense. Looking at the fleeting clouds indifferently, Zhang Xiaohua himself could not explain the feelings in his heart. If he said that he only treated Nie Qianyu as a little girl and did not have any other thoughts in his heart, even Zhang Xiaohua himself would not believe it. However, if he had to promise this little girl something, say some ambiguous words, or paint a beautiful picture, Zhang Xiaohua was unwilling. He really did not know what he should do. After leaving for so many years, he did not know when he could return to Rejuvenation Valley again. Instead of giving her some hope, he might as well give her some despair. Was this the legendary fate? Zhang Xiaohua rubbed his nose. He really wanted to ask himself and figure out the answer. Unfortunately, he was only a boy and a boy in the spring and the rainy season. How could he tell the difference between the two? Perhaps after a long time, when he looked back and recalled the dreamlike memories, he would be able to realize the true feelings within. However, at that time, how many feelings were still waiting? How many feelings were there to look forward to? Nie Qianyu was brought back to the Peach Blossom Nunnery by Little Orange. Without waiting for Little Orange to say anything, Nie Qianyu threw herself onto the bed and buried her head in the blankets. She cried out without hesitation, as if she wanted to vent all the feelings that she had suppressed for such a long time. No matter how Little Orange tried to persuade or comfort her, it was of no use. For a moment, Little Orange panicked. He warned the others and went straight to Rejuvenation Hall. Vote for me. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. -3. Chapter 500. Inside Rejuvenation Hall, Valley Head Nye, who had already made up his mind, was leisurely sipping his tea. From time to time, he would instruct his disciples to arrange a banquet for the evening. Not long after, Manager Yang returned with a joyful expression. With just one glance, Valley Head Nye's heart bloomed with joy. Of course, the word joy was clearly written on his face. Valley Head Nye didn't stand on ceremony. He went forward and cupped his hands. Brother Yang is truly a blessed general. Everything that falls into your hands is easily solved. Many thanks, many thanks. Manager Yang smiled. It's all because Master Kong sympathizes with the elderly. He knew that us old brothers wouldn't have a chance to meet again in the future, so he agreed without hesitation. If it was that cold-faced fiend from last time, no matter how much I begged, it would be impossible. Valley Head Nye was surprised. Is it Master Yu who came last time? That is true. This old man wanted to pay his respects, but he didn't pay any attention to me. I only hurriedly stayed here for a few minutes. I couldn't even spend the night here, so I left the valley in the dark. Ai, this old man was in a hurry that time and only allowed you to bring a few jars of 100-flower wine. It didn't even satisfy your craving. Haha. Manager Yang was in a great mood. Let's not talk about him. Let's go. Old brother Nye, has your banquet been set up? The accompanying brothers have all come because of your reputation. No problem. Rejuvenation Valley doesn't have much to flatter the fragrant cult. This wine is enough to satisfy them. It's been a long time since I've heard old brother Nye say such vulgar words. I thought you had changed after becoming a valley head. Just as they were talking, they heard hurried footsteps outside. When they raised their heads, they saw Little Orange running over in a hurry. Seeing Manager Yang and Valley Head Nye, he immediately bowed and looked like he wanted to say something. Valley Head Nye frowned and said, Little Orange, is something the matter? Little Orange looked at Valley Master Nye and then glanced at Manager Yang. He said in a low voice, Valley Master, young Miss just returned to Peach Blossom Temple crying. Her body was covered in mud and she seemed to have fallen. When she returned to her room, she threw herself onto the bed. No matter what I said, she wouldn't listen. Hearing this, Manager Yang no longer had any doubts about the relationship between Zhang Xiaohua and Ye Qianyu. Most of his doubts about Zhang Xiaohua entering the fragrant cult had been eliminated. Wasn't Ye Qianyu's reaction a typical example of a lover going on a long journey and being reluctant to leave? When he asked her in Huichen Hall just now, he was already hesitant. Now that he thought about it carefully, how could he not be heartbroken when the person in his heart would not come back for many years? Manager Yang looked at Valley Head Nye and patted his shoulder. Old brother, it's better if you go comfort your darling. Tell your niece that Uncle Yang promised her that he would take care of her lover after entering the fragrant cult. Let that Ren Xiaoyao enter the outer sect as soon as possible and step into Jianghu. Valley Head Nye frowned. He already had a plan in his heart. He gave Little Orange a look and shook his head. Forget it, Brother Yang. We're all experienced people. This young man's matter should be handled by the young man. If an old man like me goes, how can I persuade him? It's better to let the girl calm down and think about Xiaoyao's future. When Ren Xiaoyao returns to the valley tomorrow, let him persuade her. Little Orange listened to Manager Yang and Valley Head Nye's words and understood a lot. She knew why her young miss was crying and the stone in her heart was finally put down. However, she was only a servant girl of Huichen Valley. Even though she was as close as sisters with Nye Qianyu, this was the first time she heard that Zhang Xiaohua was going to pass on the fragrant cult. Unknowingly, the back of a deity wielding a sword that was hidden somewhere in her heart suddenly became incomparably large. Could it be that she would never see it again? When Manager Yang heard this, he smiled and said, Brother Nye is quite open-minded. You're right. Children have their own blessings. If you meddle too much, it may not be a good thing. These words had a double meaning and were precisely what Manager Yang wanted to knock Valley Head Nye down. Valley Head Nye chuckled. That's right. When it's time to let go, one should let go. This old man also needs to slowly let go. Let's go, Brother Yang. Today, us old brothers must not rest until we're drunk. Good, good, good. Manager Yang laughed loudly. As they spoke, the two were about to walk out of Huichen Hall. Valley Head Nye saw that Little Orange was still standing there with a somewhat dazed expression. He couldn't help but ask curiously, Little Orange, is there anything else? Little Orange seemed to wake up from a dream. No, nothing, Master. Oh, that's good. Go back and talk to Little Yu. It's only a few years. Her Uncle Yang has already agreed to help her Daejin come back earlier. Also, when you see Ren Xiaoyao tomorrow, tell him to quickly come and greet Uncle Yang. Yes, Master. Little Orange bowed and quickly left. Manager Yang waved his hand and said, Love is important. When that good son-in-law of yours comes back, you should go and see Little Yu first. Ha ha. Valley Head Nye laughed and pulled on Manager Yang's sleeve, quickly walking out of Huichun Hall. Valley Head Nye seemed to have laughed too much today. That was because anyone who achieved their wish of many days, their wish of many years, would not be able to keep their mouths shut. Especially, perhaps tomorrow, or perhaps the day after tomorrow, his power would increase by 5 years. The night in Huichun Valley was very beautiful. The crescent moon hung lightly in the sky, and the comfortable breeze occasionally brought the fragrance of the plants. The banquet for the fragrance cult was placed on the lawn in front of Huichun Hall. All the tables were arranged in a large circle, and there were several bonfires burning in the middle of the circle. There were also some roasted meat emitting a rich aroma on the bonfires. This strange atmosphere made the people of the fragrance cult feel very novel. Unconsciously, they began to exchange toasts with the disciples of Huichun Valley and put their arms around each other's shoulders. At the 2 tables at the head of the table were Valley Head Nye and Manager Yang. The 2 of them were already tipsy. Manager Yang raised the wine cup in his hand and said, "Elder Brother Nye, I didn't expect that every time I came here you would have novel things. It really makes me admire and envious. If I could be as free and unfettered as you, I would rather." Valley Head Nye immediately raised his wine cup and clinked it with Manager Yang's, saying, "Younger Brother Yang, you can drink more wine, but you can't speak carelessly. This situation is just what the northern nomads are used to, is nothing. Compared to the immortal-like life of your sect, it's too far. Come, cheers." Manager Yang disagreed. "The life of an immortal is the life of an inner sect disciple. We..." Seeing this, Valley Head Nye picked up the wine jug again and said with a smile, "Younger Brother Yang, come, I'll fill your cup again. Actually, there's an old saying that goes well. Life is like a city. The people who live outside think of ways to get out, and the people who live outside also think of ways to get in. Look at my son-in-law and my daughter's nephew. They think of ways to go to your fragrance cult and become medicine boys. And you envy the freedom of my Huichun Valley. Who do you think is right and who is wrong?" "Ha!" Manager Yang couldn't stand it any more and laughed loudly. "Older Brother Nye, your analogy is too vivid. Who can you blame? People's desires are endless. After getting what's in front of you, you still think about the future. You're always chasing after it. That's all, that's right. Today there's wine and today we're drunk. Who cares about tomorrow's worries? Come, younger Brother Yang, drink. Not far from their seats, Nye Qianyu sat alone with little Orange beside her. Hearing her father's words, Nye Qianyu looked at the laughing crowd and the burning bonfire. She couldn't help but be dazed. That's right. Since you envy the life in the city, then you have to think of ways to get into the city. If you can't get into the city, then you'll never know the hustle and bustle of the city. Maybe little Orange didn't know what her young miss was thinking and watched with worry. The divine sense circling around Nye Qianyu also didn't know what she was thinking and observed for a long time. It wasn't until the night gradually darkened that the divine sense retracted. In the pill room, Zhang Xiaohua retracted her divine sense and frowned slightly. She seemed to be deep in thought. In the afternoon, Nye Qianyu came over to report. She only briefly mentioned that he could spread the news of the incense order. She didn't explain anything else in detail. Zhang Xiaohua thought that Valley Head Nye would come over to take a look at the refining of the Crimson Flame pill. She would also tell him about the problem of setting off tomorrow or the day after. But even when night fell and bonfires were lit in the outer valley, there was still no sign of anyone. Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but release her divine sense early and quietly observe everything in the valley. She didn't know if it was because she wanted to find out about the incense cult's movements or because she was worried about Nye Qianyu. She couldn't hear the conversation between Valley Head Nye and Manager Yang. However, looking at Valley Head Nye's happy expression, he must have solved the problem of the Crimson Flame pill being one day later than the incense cult. The incense cult wouldn't set off immediately tomorrow morning. However, seeing Nye Qianyu's absent-minded appearance, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but feel a slight pain in her heart. Thinking back to the past when Nye Qianyu was like a happy skylark jumping around her, it was such a good feeling. Could it be that she already had this little girl boy's figure in her heart? Zhang Xiaohua didn't understand. Just as she was thinking, she suddenly heard footsteps. Zhang Xiaohua frowned. What was going on tonight? Previously, as long as someone came near, she would feel it. Now that this person had obviously walked to the door, she only heard the footsteps. Zhang Xiaohua didn't have time to hide the medicinal liquid in the pill furnace, and stood up to greet the person. The person who walked briskly into the pill room was none other than the other person who was very concerned about the crimson flame pill, Elder Zhang. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua coming out to greet him, Elder Zhang was a little embarrassed. Ren Xiaoxia, this old man had a lot of things to do and didn't have the time to come and take a look. How is the refining of the crimson flame pill? Zhang Xiaohua snickered in her heart. It wouldn't be good if you came. I can't wait for you to have more things to do. Hence, she smiled. Everything is normal. Elder Zhang, don't worry. Wait until noon tomorrow. If there are no accidents, you will be able to see the crimson flame pill. Elder Zhang, you must remember to leave 3 pills for me first. Elder Zhang waved his hand. Am I a stingy person? How can I go back on my word when I've already promised you? Furthermore, aren't the pills still in your hands? Oh, right, let me take a look at the refining situation. I haven't seen it for the past few days, so I don't know if there are any changes. Finishing his words, he walked towards the pill furnace. P.S. Thank you for everyone's opinions. I have seen them all. I am very grateful for everyone's tolerance. Also, I will update normally during the Spring Festival. However, there are times when I can't go online. I will write in advance and set it to auto-update. The time is usually set at 9 o'clock and 2000 hours. This way, there won't be any book review reward for automatically updating chapters. Finger. Mentioned this last time. Of course, if I can go online, I will update in advance. Maybe I will upload 2 chapters at a time. I wish everyone a happy Spring Festival in advance. -3. Chapter 501. Inside the cauldron, the spherical medicinal liquid was quietly suspended in midair. The essence inside was slightly rotating, and the starlight that was almost visible to the naked eye clearly showed that this was no ordinary alchemy technique. Seeing that Elder Zhang was about to walk to the cauldron, how could Zhang Xiaohua let him see all this? She immediately called out to him. Elder Zhang, please wait. When Elder Zhang heard this, he turned his head in puzzlement and asked curiously. Ren Xiaoxia, is there something wrong? Zhang Xiaohua smiled and pointed at the cauldron. Elder Zhang, don't get too close to the cauldron. This is the crucial time for the pill to be incubated. The temperature inside the cauldron needs to be stable. If you get too close, it may affect the surrounding temperature. If you affect the surrounding temperature, it may affect the temperature inside the cauldron. After saying a few ifs, Elder Zhang immediately took a few steps back. When he was in front of Zhang Xiaohua, he asked cautiously, Is this distance enough? Seeing Elder Zhang's cautious manner, Zhang Xiaohua was overjoyed in her heart. She only nodded solemnly. And this is for the best. Don't come too close. If Elder has any questions, feel free to ask me. Elder Zhang was depressed and thought. I didn't see anything. From the time you put in the medicine until now, I only saw the medicinal soup at the bottom of the cauldron. What questions can I have? After racking his brain for a while, Elder Zhang hesitated and said, This crimson flame pill, how many years can it increase one's cultivation? Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. She really didn't think about this question. In her jade scroll, she only talked about the effects of the meridian soothing pill, which was to nourish the meridians. How could it increase one's cultivation? Even the scroll that Elder Zhang gave her didn't explain it clearly. Zhang Xiaohua shook her head and said, Elder Zhang, I really can't answer this question. The scroll that you gave didn't mention it. Where do you want me to find it for you? Don't worry about it. As long as it can increase one's cultivation, it's fine. Our Rejuvenation Valley has spread word of mouth that it can increase one's cultivation by 5 years. Furthermore, it's good for the meridians. In the future, cultivation will be twice the result with half the effort. Zhang Xiaohua nodded and said inwardly, I don't know if my internal energy can increase, but if it is beneficial to my meridians, then it is true. Then he said, Elder Zhang, although I don't know how many years of cultivation it can increase, but if you compare it with other medicinal pills that you know the effects of, wouldn't you have a better idea? Other medicinal pills? Elder Zhang smiled and said, And Xiaoxia, it's easy for you to say that. You're still talking about other medicinal pills that can increase one's power. This old man doesn't dare to boast. Other than my Rejuvenation Valley's Crimson Flame pill, the medicinal pills that can increase one's power in this world are really. Zhang Xiaohua thought he was going to say, no, but Elder Zhang changed the topic and said, It's really very little. Zhang Xiaohua shrugged her shoulders and said, After all, they do exist. Since Rejuvenation Valley is famous for its medicinal pills, they must know about it. Won't we know if we compare them horizontally? Elder Zhang still shook his head. The pill recipe is also incomplete. Those things are in the hands of the Dalan Temple, Fragrance Cult, and the former Misty School. How could my Rejuvenation Valley know about it? Besides, even if we have the pill recipe, what can we do? As the saying goes, a clever housewife can't cook without rice. Without medicinal herbs of sufficient age, it's also difficult to successfully refine this medicinal pill. Zhang Xiaohua also nodded. If Rejuvenation Valley doesn't have Crimson Pearl grass and Scarlet Flame grass, it's indeed impossible to refine this Crimson Flame pill. At this moment, Elder Zhang's face was full of yearning as he said, According to Rejuvenation Valley's early records, several hundred years ago, a medicinal pill called Qi-generating pill appeared in Jianghu. It's a spiritual medicine that can increase one's power. A single Qi-generating pill can increase one's power by 30 years. It's said that at that time, a reign of terror was set off in the entire Jianghu. Many famous Jianghu experts died because of this. Qi-generating pill? Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but call out. This name seemed extremely familiar. Which jade slip did she see it in? When Elder Zhang heard Zhang Xiaohua call it out, he wasn't surprised. That's right, it's the Qi-generating pill. Presumably, you've also heard of this legendary miraculous medicinal pill. However, not only has the medicinal pill already disappeared, even the pill recipe has long been lost. I've only heard that it contains dragon beheading grass, peacock grass, and other main ingredients. However, this old man has only heard of the name of these main ingredients. I've never seen a picture of them. In the ancient records passed down from Rejuvenation Valley, it's only mentioned slightly and simply didn't go into detail. Presumably, only in the super-large sects that have been passed down for 10,000 years like the aroma-spreading sect can we find some clues. Dragon beheading grass? Peacock grass? Zhang Xiaohua didn't wrinkle her brows. She didn't seem to see these two medicinal herbs in the jade slip. However, shortly after, Zhang Xiaohua also felt at ease. The number of medicinal herbs recorded in the 100-herb compendium was innumerable. How could she remember them all? In the future, when she had time to carefully look at them, perhaps they would be useful. Seeing Elder Zhang speak for a long time, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, Although Scarlet Flame grass and Crimson Pearl grass aren't as rare as Dragon Beheading grass and Peacock grass, they are still considered spiritual herbs. Moreover, they also have a medicinal age of 100 years. They aren't necessarily inferior to the Qi-generating pill. If we can successfully refine them tomorrow, after you and Valley Henya take them, you'll naturally know their effects. Right now, it's also useless to make wild guesses. Elder Zhang reluctantly looked at the pill furnace above the earth fire and said with a bitter smile, Actually, these 5 years of cultivation might not have had much of an effect on me. However, to be able to personally see and personally take the spiritual herbs described in the jade slip, this old man, I can die in peace. As he finished speaking, Elder Zhang somewhat didn't choose his words carefully. Zhang Xiaohua actually understood these words. As the ancients said, hearing about it in the morning and dying in the evening. It was nothing more than this. To be able to personally experience the feeling of yearning for even in one's dreams was much more important than gaining a few years of cultivation for no reason. The two people spoke for a while more before Elder Zhang was about to leave. Zhang Xiaohua warned, "Elder Zhang, before noon tomorrow, I will be in this pill room watching over the medicinal pills. I need absolute silence and don't let anyone disturb me. It's best that you and Valleyhead don't wait in front of the pill room. Right now, there are many people from the incense cult in our Rejuvenation Valley. If we pay too much attention, it's hard to avoid attracting their attention. Elder Zhang wouldn't want them to also know that Rejuvenation Valley has the Crimson Flame pill, right?" Elder Zhang nodded and said, "And Xiaoxia is right. We definitely won't come before noon tomorrow. Valleyhead and I will wait in my pill room. If you succeed in refining, then come directly to the pill room to find us. What do you think?" Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, "That's how it should be." Thus, Elder Zhang left with a smile on his face. Zhang Xiaohua set up a restriction on the pill room and sat cross-legged in front of the pill furnace. She carefully inserted the necessary spells and carefully observed the changes in the medicinal pill. Deep into the night, she finally inserted the spells. Zhang Xiaohua held the Vitality Stone in her hand and prepared to cultivate the Carefree Heart Sutra. Before she closed her eyes, she still looked worriedly at the medicinal liquid in the pill furnace that was gradually slowing down. This was already the last night. She hoped that nothing would go wrong. Very quickly, starlight shone into the pill. The specks of starlight within the pill became even more resplendent in this dense cluster of starlight. From time to time, it would absorb even more starlight. However, in the end, the medicinal liquid gradually stopped spinning. The outer layer of the Crimson Flame pills, a ray, was formed and the starlight could no longer penetrate it. In the scorching hot pill furnace, under the invisible starlight, the huge medicinal pill quietly floated there, motionless. After a long time, the sky gradually brightened. Zhang Xiaohua suddenly opened her eyes and hurriedly looked at the medicinal pill in the pill furnace. Seeing that the medicinal pill was motionless, she was shocked. When she released her divine sense, she could only see that the vitality emitted by the medicinal pill was already weak and was gradually decreasing. Only then did she relax. It seemed that the pill was about to be successfully nurtured. Nothing strange happened last night. Zhang Xiaohua was too worried about the Crimson Flame pill in the pill furnace. After removing the restrictions in the pill room, she only practiced the Fist of the North Star 12 times at the entrance of the pill room before immediately returning to the pill furnace. She didn't even take a single step away from it. She didn't even comprehend the heavenly Tao or the mantra. She only released her divine sense and observed carefully, afraid that something would go wrong at the last step. Time passed very quickly, but also very slowly. This morning, Zhang Xiaohua lost the patience that a chi practitioner should have as an immortal cultivator. She actually began to quietly pace in front of the pill furnace. Just as Zhang Xiaohua was about to lose her composure, a series of footsteps rang out from outside the pill room. Zhang Xiaohua was shocked. She had already warned Elder Zhang not to disturb her today. Why was there someone outside the pill room? Zhang Xiaohua frowned and released her divine sense. However, she was rather surprised when she saw the scene outside the pill room. The person outside the pill room wasn't Valleyhead Nye, nor was it Elder Zhang, nor was it anyone from Rejuvenation Valley. Instead, it was a woman with a veil on her head. Beside her was a short and stout man. Behind them were several men and women dressed in martial attire. Zhang Xiaohua had seen the short and stout man last night. He was the one who had accompanied Valleyhead Nye at the banquet. The woman was also the one who had given orders in the Cult of Fragrance's caravan last night. Zhang Xiaohua understood that this woman should be the emissary of the Cult of Fragrance, and this short and stout man should be the manager Yang that Nye Qianyu had mentioned. Sure enough, Manager Yang smiled obsequiously and pointed at the pill room where Zhang Xiaohua was. He said something to the woman, and the woman nodded from time to time. Her expression couldn't be seen under the veil. Then, without waiting for Manager Yang to finish speaking, she raised her head to look ahead and walked away. She didn't seem to be too interested in Manager Yang's introduction. Manager Yang was surprised and immediately followed her eagerly. He pointed at the herb garden in front of them and explained something. Once they were far away, Zhang Xiaohua retracted her divine sense. She was rather worried about how she would deal with the emissary and Manager Yang if they barged into the pill room. When she turned her attention to the pill furnace, she suddenly realized that she had been thinking too much. She had long lost the calmness and composure that a pill master should have. If it wasn't for the disturbance of the people from the cult of fragrance, she might have destroyed this cauldron of pills. Immediately, Zhang Xiaohua sat down cross-legged. Not long after, her eyes, nose, and heart were empty. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. -3. Chapter 502. Not long after, a strong medicinal fragrance wafted out of the cauldron and then disappeared. Zhang Xiaohua knew that the 13-day pill incubation was complete. She immediately stood up from the futon and used her divine sense to enter the cauldron. She replayed the method of pulling out the pills in her mind. Then she stretched out both hands and moved her 10 fingers, slowly and rhythmically forming hand seals. In a short while, the hand seals were formed. Without hesitation, Zhang Xiaohua sent the hand seals into the cauldron. Then, her hands did not stop and continued to send out the remaining hand seals. Thus, the number of pills in the cauldron increased from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 3, until 8 pills were pulled out of the cauldron. Looking at the remaining medicinal liquid, Zhang Xiaohua knew that although there was a lot of medicinal liquid left, she could only pull out 1 more pill. It was impossible to pull out another crimson flame pill. However, when he cast the last spell, the 9th crimson flame elixir was pulled out smoothly. However, the remaining medicinal liquid did not disappear mysteriously like when he refined elixirs in the past. Instead, it floated quietly in the cauldron. Eh? Zhang Xiaohua let out a cry of surprise. Could it be that refining the crimson flame pill could break the limit of 9 pills? Very naturally, Zhang Xiaohua sent the last hand seal into the liquid. In an instant, an unbelievable scene happened. When Zhang Xiaohua sent the hand seal into the last liquid, the liquid did not move at all at first. Then, it swelled and flickered as if it was invisible. Just when Zhang Xiaohua thought that it was going to disappear, there was a sudden light crisp sound. It was like a burnt soybean exploding. Suddenly 6 thumb-sized pills appeared out of thin air and fell to the bottom of the cauldron. Zhang Xiaohua's eyes widened. Those 6 pills were maroon in color. Weren't they the crimson flame pills mentioned in the Rejuvenation Valley's book? Faint Zhang Xiaohua was completely dizzy. Wasn't she refining the meridian soothing pill? How did 6 crimson flame pills pop out in the end? However, this was not the time for him to hesitate. When he came to his senses, Zhang Xiaohua hurriedly took out the jade bottle from the money bag and carefully collected the 9 meridian nourishing pills with the elixir receiving technique. Then, he cast an enchantment and put it on the shelf in his money bag space. Just when his divine sense was about to withdraw from the space, he inadvertently swept past the bottom of the shelf and saw a few jade bottles casually thrown under the shelf. Immediately, Zhang Xiaohua seemed to have been struck by lightning. Qi-generating pill! He finally remembered. This was the qi-generating pill. It wasn't what he saw from the jade slips, but rather the qi-generating pills that were actually in his money pouch. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately took out a bottle of qi-generating pills from his money pouch and carefully examined it in his hand. There were 3 small characters on the jade bottle. Qi-generating pill. It was written very carelessly and also very casually. It looked like it was not valued at all. However, this was the legendary panacea that could increase one's power that Elder Zhang had mentioned yesterday. Zhang Xiaohua tightly knitted his brows and felt that it was inconceivable. However, when his gaze saw the 6 brownish-red crimson flame pills that were quietly lying at the bottom of the pill furnace, he unconsciously had a flash of insight. Previously, he had used yellow essence to refine the fasting pill, Gastrodia flax to refine the blood-replenishing pill, and other medicinal herbs to refine medicinal pills. He had used the Immortal Tao technique. The number of pills that were formed were all less than 9. As long as there were more than 9 pills, no matter how many medicinal herbs there were, they would all mysteriously disappear without a trace. However, those were all basic medicinal pills. The Crimson Flame pill was the first type of low-level medicinal pill that Zhang Xiaohua had refined. It also seemed to be unable to escape the shackles of 9 pills. However, the medicinal strength of the Crimson Pearl grass and the Bright Sun grass was very strong. After forming 9 pills, there was still an excess of essence remaining. And this essence formed the Crimson Flame pill that Rejuvenation Valley had mentioned. This Crimson Flame pill was a byproduct of refining the Meridian Nourishing pill. Compared to the Meridian Nourishing pill, this Crimson Flame pill was naturally the role of a leftover. If it wasn't for the fact that Elder Zhang and Valley Head Nie had repeatedly placed great importance on it, Zhang Xiaohua would definitely have treated it as an ordinary medicinal pill and casually collected it. Using this analogy, the qi-generating pill that Elder Zhang had mentioned, which was the item in Zhang Xiaohua's hand at this moment, was presumably a byproduct of some higher-level medicinal pill. Although it was a panacea to martial artists, it was certainly dispensable to immortals who refined medicinal pills. Therefore, it was so casually named and so casually thrown into a corner of the shelf. After thinking it through, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but slightly shake her head. She picked up the jade bottle and gently shook it by her ear, but there wasn't any movement. Could it be that it was empty? Zhang Xiaohua immediately released her divine sense. Fortunately, the restriction on the jade bottle was still there, and the 3 qi-generating pills were still inside the jade bottle. Zhang Xiaohua pursed her lips into a smile, and the jade bottle in her hand disappeared into thin air. Soon after, her gaze landed on the 6 Crimson Flame pills at the bottom of the pill furnace. Originally, she had been thinking about how to explain the difference between the Meridian Nourishing pill and the Crimson Flame pill to Valley Head Nie and Elder Zhang. Now, the Crimson Flame pill was actually a byproduct of refining the Meridian Nourishing pill. Did she still need to explain? Even better, the Meridian Nourishing pill was naturally kept by Zhang Xiaohua herself. She wouldn't leave it for Rejuvenation Valley. This thing was too mysterious. Giving it to them might not be a good thing. She would only give the Crimson Flame pill to Rejuvenation Valley. It was truly killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Picking up the porcelain bottle that Rejuvenation Valley had prepared earlier, Zhang Xiaohua was just about to put the Crimson Flame pills inside, but she suddenly remembered that the qi-generating pills were also stored inside the jade bottle. Presumably, this porcelain bottle wasn't good. Thus, Zhang Xiaohua picked up the jade box that originally stored the medicinal herbs on the table. Forming an incantation seal, the 6 Crimson Flame pills were all stored inside the jade box. Only at this time did Zhang Xiaohua let out a long sigh. In the end, she didn't disappoint everyone and didn't waste 14 days of hard work. This Crimson Flame pill, the Meridian Nourishing pill, was successfully refined. Putting the jade box into her bosom, Zhang Xiaohua walked out of the pill room. At this time, it was already past noon. Presumably, Valley Master Nie and Elder Zhang had been waiting anxiously for a long time. Sure enough, seeing Zhang Xiaohua walk into the pill room with a gloomy expression, Elder Zhang and Valley Master Nie, who had been waiting impatiently, felt their hearts skip a beat. They looked at each other and quickly walked up to greet her. Elder Zhang immediately asked, "And Xiao Xiao, how is the refinement of the Crimson Flame pill?" Zhang Xiaohua sighed. "AI, this little nephew's learning isn't proficient." Valley Master Nie was also full of curiosity. However, looking at Zhang Xiaohua's appearance, there must have been a mistake. As a result, he didn't wait for Zhang Xiaohua to finish speaking and said, "Virtuous nephew Ren, if there was a mistake, don't mind it. Even if the refinement failed, didn't you still gain experience? Don't we still have another portion of medicinal herbs? Although there isn't enough time, you can still refine it in Xuanxiang cult. Next time, you will definitely succeed. We will just wait at Rejuvenation Valley for virtuous nephew to bring back the Crimson Flame pill." Hearing this, Elder Zhang's expression also became gloomy. He forced a smile and said, Yes, Ren Xiaoxia, if it didn't work this time, there will be a next time. Hearing the two talking to themselves to comfort her, Zhang Xiaohua sighed. AI, this little nephew's learning isn't proficient. The amount of crimson flame pill I refined is a little too little. And it's alright. It's fine if it's less. The two comforted. But suddenly, the two came to their senses and were pleasantly surprised. What? Less? That means the refinement was a success? Zhang Xiaohua smiled. Yes, this little nephew didn't disappoint you. Although the amount refined was small, it was still a success. Elder Zhang smiled. It's alright, it's alright. As long as the refinement is successful, it's fine. I'll just take a look and don't need to consume it. Let Valley Master consume this pill. This? Valley Master Nia was a little hesitant. If he said he didn't want to consume it, it would definitely be a lie. But then, he gritted his teeth and said, Elder Zhang should consume it. You're old, you may not. I'll wait for virtuous nephew Ren to refine the pill next time. Valley Master. Elder Zhang still wanted to persuade Valley Master Nia. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. She was also touched. These two valued the crimson flame pill too much and were worried about their gains and losses. They couldn't wait for her to finish speaking and take her words out of context. Coughing, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, Seniors, don't push back and forth. This time, I refined a total of 6 crimson flame pills. It's enough for both of you to consume. What? Elder Zhang and Valley Master Nia exclaimed again. 6 pills! Really? Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but be puzzled. These two were too surprised today. Elder Zhang's eyes were brimming with tears. He walked forward and grabbed Zhang Xiaohua's hand. Ren Xiaoxia, you're really a god. Word of mouth in the valley says that the crimson flame pill isn't easy to refine. In the early years, I heard that only 2 pills could be refined in one furnace. You're good, refining 6 pills at once. It's really miraculous. Valley Master Nia also couldn't hide his excitement. Yes, it's really miraculous. Elder Zhang was also beaming with joy and said, According to the previous agreement, Ren Xiaoxia will take 3 pills. Our Rejuvenation Valley still has 3 pills. Valley Master and I will each consume 1. The last one is difficult to handle, so Valley Master will have to make the decision. Valley Master Nia also frowned a little. Yes, it's fine if we don't have one. But it's difficult to handle with only 1 pill. I don't know who to give it to. Elder Zhang thought for a moment. How about I don't consume it either? We don't need any of the older ones. Let's leave it to the younger ones. Let's see who has the best aptitude and has the potential to be nurtured. It's better for them to consume it. Valley Master Nia shook his head. It's only 5 years' worth of power. Young people should sharpen themselves more. If they gain some power out of nowhere, it won't be good for their future cultivation. Elder Zhang, seeing the two talking among themselves again, Zhang Xiaohua shook her head. Calm down, calm down. Isn't it just 5 years' worth of power? I have a pill with 30 years' worth of power in my hands, but I'm not wild with joy. Why are you guys so agitated? Seeing the two discussing, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but cough and say, Seniors, it's not 3 crimson flame pills, it's 5. The two were stunned and asked curiously, Why 5? Then Valley Master Nia came to his senses and said, Don't. We've already agreed that nephew will leave behind 3 crimson flame pills. How can we go back on our words? Zhang Xiaohua shook her head. Uncle Nia's words are too serious. I'm only 1 person. 1 pill is enough. Moreover, I still have other medicinal herbs. I can refine them later. -3. Chapter 503. Zhang Xiaohua's words made Valley Head Nia and Elder Zhang see her in a new light. Valley Head Nia even probed. Nephew Rin, you're spreading the incense cult, aren't you looking for your brother? If he's spreading the incense cult, won't you leave him a crimson flame pill? Zhang Xiaohua shook her head and said, Didn't I make it clear to Uncle Nia just now? I've only used half of the herbs you gave me. I'll keep the other half. If I need it, I can refine more. Actually, if I didn't need a crimson flame pill as a reference, I would have left all 6 crimson flame pills for Rejuvenation Valley. Finishing her words, she took out the jade box from her bosom. Seeing the jade box, Valley Head Nia was startled and asked, Nephew Ren, why don't you use a porcelain bottle to store the pills? Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, Since the herbs need to be stored in a jade box, the formed pills need to be stored in a jade box as well. Of course, it's even better that Rejuvenation Valley has a jade bottle. Oh, I see. Valley Head Nia suddenly understood. He had always used a porcelain bottle to store the pills for the sake of saving costs. Now that the crimson flame pill was for his own use, of course he would use the best container. Hearing this, Elder Zhang quickly took 2 jade bottles from the side. Zhang Xiaohua didn't stand on ceremony and took one of them and poured a crimson flame pill into it. Then, she handed the jade box and the remaining 5 crimson flame pills into Valley Head Nia's hands. She then plugged the jade bottle and casually put it in her bosom. Valley Head Nia had been talking the whole time, but his eyes never left Zhang Xiaohua. Now that he saw Zhang Xiaohua hand over the crimson flame pill, he was overjoyed. His decades of hope had finally come true today. Valley Head Nia and Elder Zhang both carefully took out a pill from the jade box and carefully examined it in front of their eyes. As they looked, they clicked their tongues in praise. This crimson flame pill was exactly as described in the scrolls. Suddenly, Elder Zhang called out, What's going on? There seems to be a bit of light inside the crimson flame pill? Hearing this, Valley Head Nia also carefully examined it. Sure enough, he nodded and said, Yes, Nephew Rin, there really seems to be a bit of light inside, but it's only seen inadvertently. If you look closely, you won't see it. Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. He immediately thought of the starlight he had seen in the medicinal liquid. He thought to himself, No way, I can still be seen? So, she still couldn't. But it was a formed pill after all, it was still a formed pill. Zhang's still couldn't penetrate it. Zhang's still a formed pills, AAS still a formed pill for it. When Zhang Xiaohua widened her eyes to take a closer look, it was indeed as Elder Zhang and Valley Head Nia had said, there were traces of light coming out from inside. In an instant, Zhang Xiaohua had a realization. The crimson flame pill had the protection of its outers, so hers divine sense couldn't penetrate it. But this light was not restricted by the crimson flame pill's formation, and could freely penetrate it. But thinking about it, it was normal. Light was a naturally born thing, and shouldn't be part of the 5 elements. All formations, and, at least the ones that Zhang Xiaohua came into contact with, shouldn't be able to stop it. But even if Zhang Xiaohua knew this, what was the use? How was she going to explain it to the 2 of them? What kind of person was Zhang Xiaohua? What she knew the most was that she didn't know anything. She immediately shook her head like a rattledrum. This I don't know. I've followed the steps of refining the crimson flame pill completely without any mistakes. Seniors, just look at the shape of this pill and you should know. As for the light inside, is it from the outside? Or is there no specific record in the scroll? Valley Head Nia and Elder Zhang looked at each other helplessly. That's right, the scroll only described the appearance, color and effects of the pill, and didn't say anything else. Maybe the predecessors didn't read it carefully? Zhang Xiaohua continued. Seniors, it's best that you keep the 5 crimson flame pills quickly. If they're exposed for too long, they may lose their medicinal effects. Once she said this, the 2 of them didn't pursue the matter of the light or the shape. They hurriedly poured the crimson flame pills into the jade bottle, capped it, and carefully hid it in their clothes. After keeping the crimson flame pills, Valley Head Nia asked again, Nephew Rin, I've already discussed the effects of this crimson flame pill with Elder Zhang, but we didn't have a clue. We can only know after consuming it. But I still want to ask, is there any special way to consume it, or is there anything to take note of? Zhang Xiaohua stared blankly and asked curiously. Uncle Nia, this question is very strange. I've never seen the crimson flame pill before, so how would I know how to consume it? Elder Zhang smiled. To be honest with you, Xiaoxia, since you can refine this crimson flame pill, we all feel that you must know how to consume this pill. Zhang Xiaohua suddenly understood. That's right, the Rejuvenation Valley's legendary pill. Even the Rejuvenation Valley themselves don't know how to refine it. You, a person without any reason, can so easily refine it. If you've never refined it before or seen this pill before, even if people think with their feet, they may not believe it. Zhang Xiaohua understood and could only helplessly say, I won't hide it from you two seniors. This is indeed my first time refining this crimson flame pill, and I don't know how to consume it. At this point, Zhang Xiaohua's eyes lit up. The Jade Scroll casually mentioned the consumption of the Soothing Meridians pill. Because the Soothing Meridians pill was used to nourish and repair the meridians, the medicinal power needed to be sent into the meridians. After consuming the Soothing Meridians pill, one must immediately circulate the mental cultivation method and allow the medicinal power to circulate throughout the meridians in the entire body for the best effect to be achieved. Thus, Zhang Xiaohua pretended to think and said, Actually, you two seniors are thinking too much. Since it's a pill that increases one's power, it must be related to one's inner strength. As long as you consume it while circulating your inner strength and circulate it a few times, for example, 36 or 72 circulations, it will definitely work. Valley Head Nye and Elder Zhang nodded thoughtfully. They definitely knew this point, but they wanted to know if the creator of the pill had a more pertinent suggestion. Thinking of this, Valley Head Nye couldn't help but touch the jade bottle in his arms. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, Uncle Nye isn't going to consume it right now, is he? Valley Head Nye smiled bitterly and said, This crimson flame pill is like a ball of fire in my hands. It burns my heart, and I only want to consume it to see its effects. However, the messenger of the fragrant order is currently in Rejuvenation Valley. How can I cultivate in seclusion at this time? Only after I send all of you away will I be able to consume it with peace of mind. Speaking of this, Valley Head Nye suddenly remembered something and said, Virtuous nephew Run, I have a matter to entrust to you. I hope that virtuous nephew will agree for the sake of Rejuvenation Valley. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua's face became bitter. This accusation was so heavy that it probably wasn't a simple matter. However, he had no other choice and could only brace himself and say, Please instruct me, Uncle Nye. This nephew will do his best to accomplish it. Valley Head Nye nodded and turned to look at Elder Zhang. He smiled and said, Elder Zhang, please leave for a moment. Elder Zhang looked at the two strangely and said, Okay, I'll leave now and won't delay your conversation. After saying this, he stood up and left. However, just as Valley Head Nye was about to speak, he heard Elder Zhang say loudly from outside, Manager Yang, how have you been? I haven't seen you in a long time. Is this the messenger of your esteemed sect this year? When Valley Head Nye heard this, how could he still be bothered to instruct Zhang Xiaohua about matters? He walked out in quick steps. Zhang Xiaohua thought for a moment, and also followed him out. Outside the alchemy room, the masked messenger was passing by under the guidance of Manager Yang. He just happened to bump into Elder Zhang walking out of the alchemy room and heard Manager Yang introduce him. Lord Kong, this is the previous generation elder of Rejuvenation Valley. His surname is Zhang, Elder Zhang. Lord Kong nodded slightly. Greetings, Elder Zhang. Elder Zhang seemed to be overwhelmed by the favor and hurriedly said, Greetings, Lord Kong. Lord Kong is in such a good mood to come to the inner valley of Rejuvenation Valley to admire the scenery? As they spoke, Valley Head Nye also walked out and saluted. Lord Kong, I have some worldly affairs to attend to in the valley and am unable to accompany Lord into the valley. I'm really sorry for that. How does Lord feel about the scenery of Rejuvenation Valley? Lord Kong raised his head to look at the various medicinal gardens and casually said, Rejuvenation Valley is indeed unique. Although the space in the valley is small, it can be said to be small. It has all the essentials and the types of medicinal herbs are also extremely complete. It's really not bad. Although her words were directed at Valley Head Nye, her eyes were glancing at the scenery to the side. However, under the veil, how could others know? Valley Head Nya lowered his head and said, "Thank you for your praise, Lord. Compared to your esteemed sect, it's as different as the clouds and mud." As they spoke, Manager Yang's gaze looked behind Valley Head Nya and he said loudly, "Io Valley Head Nya, is this your little Yu's husband? He's indeed a talented person, just like the rumors outside." Of course, it was Zhang Xiaohua who slowly walked out of the pill room. When Valley Head Nya heard this, he immediately said, "Yes, it's my Rejuvenation Valley's future son-in-law. He just came from..." At this point, he paused and glanced at Manager Yang before continuing. "He just came from my place to ask Elder Zhang some questions. Come, Xiao Yao, greet Lord Kong, the envoy of the fragrant religion. This is Manager Yang that I mentioned to you before. You weren't feeling well yesterday, so I didn't let you greet them. Today, you can make up for it together." Damn, she was suddenly a generation younger. Zhang Xiaohua was helpless and could only go forward. Manager Yang was quite close and Zhang Xiaohua could only greet him first. "Greetings, Manager Yang." Manager Yang looked at him with a smile and really wanted to admire a junior. He said, Good, good. This child, if it weren't for his tender skin, his body would be like that of an 18 or 19-year-old youth." Immediately, he pulled his hand and pointed at Lord Kong. "Come, let's first thank Lord Kong. If it weren't for her nod, it wouldn't have been easy for you to go to the fragrant religion." Lord Kong's eyes weren't looking at them. When he heard this, he unconsciously frowned and said, "Manager Yang, this is your pill expansion hall's matter, but it's related to..." When he said this, he turned his head and saw Zhang Xiaohua in front of him. He couldn't say the rest of his words and stared straight at her without moving for a long time. Qidian. -3. Chapter 504. Peacock retracted her gaze from the herb garden and turned around to look at Zhang Xiaohua as she spoke. The moment Peacock laid eyes on Zhang Xiaohua, she suddenly felt as if everything in the world had disappeared. The only thing left in this world was this man, this ordinary man. Her gaze was deeply attracted to him. Like a moth drawn to a flame, all her attention was firmly drawn to him. Thump, thump, thump. Peacock's heart pounded violently, as if she was facing something that she had yearned for day and night, or something that she had been chasing for her entire life. Involuntarily, an unimaginable thought flashed across her mind. "I must have it! I must have it!" Then, she involuntarily raised her right hand, as if she wanted to grab hold of Zhang Xiaohua. When Valley Master Nye, Elder Zhang, and the others saw this, their expressions changed drastically. This was because the countless envoys from the spreading fragrance cult were extremely cold. They did not even bother with the Valley Master and elders of the Rejuvenation Valley, and would not waste their time on the medicine boy that they were going to choose. Although Zhang Xiaohua's identity was the future son-in-law of the Rejuvenation Valley's Valley Master, he was still only a little medicine boy in the spreading fragrance cult. Peacock's action was extremely strange. When Manager Yang heard Peacock's words, he immediately said respectfully, "Master Kong, you are too kind. You are the envoy this time. If I don't listen to you, who else should I listen to? Come, come, Rin Xiaoyao, come and thank Master Kong for his grace." He lowered his head humbly, and then pulled Zhang Xiaohua forward. Only then did he notice Peacock's strange behavior, and he was stunned. He reminded, "Master Kong? Master Kong?" Ever since Zhang Xiaohua understood the heavenly Tao, his senses had become sharper. When Peacock saw his strange behavior, he immediately felt it. He immediately released his consciousness and looked through the thin veil. Cough, cough. That's right. What kind of time was it? Why would he still care about being polite? Behind the veil was a delicate and fair face. She had almond-shaped eyes, dark eyebrows, cherry lips, and a jade-like nose. There was also a dignified look in her eyes. Her temperament was incomparably graceful and luxurious, making people not dare to approach her. Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. The emissary of the fragrant religion was actually a young woman in her 20s who was more beautiful than Lu Qian and O Yen. However, at this moment, Her eyebrows were slightly furrowed and her mouth was slightly agate. Her eyes flickered with incomparable astonishment and incomparable, desire. If this gaze was that of a man looking at a beautiful woman, Zhang Xiaohua might not have cared. However, this gaze was fixed on Zhang Xiaohua. Zhang Xiaohua could not help but be alarmed. Bad vegetable, did you see something wrong? Zhang Xiaohua secretly complained in her heart. Next, the peacock reached out to grab him. Zhang Xiaohua hurriedly retracted his divine sense. With a thought, he used the incomplete God's traction mantra to conceal his divine sense and immortal Tao cultivation. At this moment, Peacock was also awakened by Manager Yang's words. Only then did she realize that she had lost her composure. She immediately covered it up and pointed at Manager Yang. She said, "This is the Rin Xiaoyao you mentioned yesterday?" Manager Yang did not dare to make any more guesses. He bowed and smiled apologetically. "That's him. He is the son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley's Valley Master Nye personally selected. Come, Rin Xiaoyao, quickly come and thank Master Kong." Zhang Xiaohua retracted her aura and took 2 quick steps forward. She bowed deeply. "Thank you, Master Kong. I hope that Master Kong will continue to support me in the future." When Peacock looked at Zhang Xiaohua again, she realized that she was no longer as attractive as before. Peacock was puzzled. "Eh? What happened just now? Was it an illusion?" Suddenly, a sense of embarrassment rose in her heart. Could this be the legendary, seeing? Immediately, her heart was in a mess. How can this be? I have never seen him before. He is just a little medicine boy. What's more hateful is that this Rin Xiaoyao is the future son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley. Also, the most hateful thing was that although Zhang Xiaohua bowed respectfully with a proper attitude, Peacock could feel that she had no respect at all. Yes, not even the slightest bit. It must be said that a woman's heart was like a needle in the ocean. Peacock was the same as a goddess. For no reason, Peacock felt a tinge of displeasure. She did not retract her outstretched hand. Instead, she pointed and said, "You are the Rin Xiaoyao who defeated the Sword Master of Longting Villa and defeated the combined attack of 4 people in the arena?" Zhang Xiaohua replied gently, "I wouldn't dare. That's me." When the word "me" entered her ears, Peacock was even more displeased. She moved her hand and struck out with her palm. "Let me see how good you are at martial arts." Seeing Master Kong's sudden attack, Steward Yang and Valley Master Nye were shocked. They cried out, "Master, please have mercy." But neither of them dared to take a step forward, let alone lend a helping hand. Zhang Xiaohua retracted his spiritual sense. He did not expect Peacock to be in trouble. When he noticed, the white palm was already in front of him. Zhang Xiaohua frowned. Although he could not use his spiritual sense, he could tell that the palm contained an infinite amount of inner energy just by listening to the sound of the wind. Zhang Xiaohua was puzzled. "I didn't offend this Lord Kong. Why is he staring at me the moment we meet? Although I am handsome, you are a woman. You don't have to resort to underhanded means. Besides, you covered your face first and didn't let me see your beautiful face. I didn't even look at you blasphemously. How could you do that?" However, at this moment, Zhang Xiaohua was no longer the same as before. Even if he hastily faced the enemy, he was not afraid. His body did not move, but he raised his left arm, and his palm also straightened, and directly faced the attack. However, just as the true Qi entered his palm, he thought in his heart, "This Lord Kong only said that I defeated Longting Villa's Sword Prince, but I can't reveal my true strength. Oh, right, could it be that this woman actually wants to test my martial arts? What did she see?" So, he immediately simulated the vital energy into inner energy, and adjusted the amount of inner energy to be slightly higher than Master Long's. As he spoke, the 2 palms collided. A powerful wave of inner energy crashed into Zhang Xiaohua's palm. Zhang Xiaohua did not dare to use any more vital energy. He only felt the force of the collision. Zhang Xiaohua's body was sent flying back into the alchemy room behind him. When the 2 palms collided, Peacock felt the normal amount of inner energy in Zhang Xiaohua's palm. She even felt the warmth in his palm. Her heart was in a mess. She could not control the energy in her palm. The inner energy rushed out like a tidal wave. When Zhang Xiaohua was sent flying, she was startled. She immediately retracted her inner energy. She could not help but cry out, "Ouch!" After the cry of, "Ouch!" not only did her veil ripple, her feet also moved half a step forward. She had lost her composure once again. But at this time, everyone was looking at the flying Zhang Xiaohua. No one noticed the high and mighty messenger's second loss of composure. Zhang Xiaohua was sent flying in the air. He circulated the vital energy in his meridians and stabilized his body. However, he did not stop immediately. Instead, he used the momentum to fly backwards. The door of Elder Shang's alchemy room was half closed. Zhang Xiaohua said in his heart, "I'm sorry, Elder Zhang. Tonight your room is going to leak in." A loud bang was heard. The fragile bamboo door of the alchemy room was shattered into pieces. Zhang Xiaohua did not slow down. He only stopped when a loud bang was heard. Ren Xiaoxiao. Elder Zhang was shocked. He rushed into the alchemy room. Valley Master Nia also took a step forward. But he looked at Peacock, who was standing there quietly. She had regained her composure. Then, he looked at Steward Yang, who was also confused. He finally stopped. Bad luck, really bad luck. Zhang Xiaohua, who was in the alchemy room, was very depressed. "I didn't go out for a walk this morning. I didn't hear any crows in the valley. How did I encounter such a thing? That Master Kong looked so beautiful. Why did he hit me so hard? The strength of his palm, how was he trying to test my power? It was more like he wanted me to be injured." He did not know Peacock's emotions. He only thought that Peacock did not hold back. But when he thought of the word, injured, his eyes turned and he quickly bit his tongue. A stream of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. At this time, Elder Zhang also rushed into the alchemy room. Seeing the blood at the corner of Zhang Xiaohua's mouth, he said in shock, "Ren Xiaoxia, you're injured?" Zhang Xiaohua looked weak and said, "Sai, my internal organs were injured by Master Kong." Elder Zhang was also helpless. What could he say? He was just a has-been elder of Rejuvenation Valley. Coming to see Zhang Xiaohua without permission was already his limit. He helped Zhang Xiaohua out of the alchemy room. Everyone present saw the blood at the corner of Zhang Xiaohua's mouth. The people of the fragrant cult were naturally used to seeing this. They did not feel any sympathy. Valley Master Nia asked with concern, "Xiao Yao, how are your injuries?" Zhang Xiaohua shook her head. "It's nothing, just some minor internal injuries." Peacock saw Zhang Xiaohua so weak and seemed to be relieved. But there was another emotion that was worse than relief. That was heartache. Peacock asked coldly, "And Xiao Yao, your inner energy is not bad. What kind of martial arts do you practice?" Zhang Xiaohua was stunned and said, "Frenzied Bull's Strength." Frenzied Bull's Strength. Peacock was also surprised. "What kind of inner energy is that?" Manager Yang immediately explained. "Master Kong, Frenzied Bull's Strength is a common type of inner energy in Jianghu. It is the easiest to learn and will not cause any deviation. Our fragrant cult does not have such a crude inner energy heart technique." "Oh, Frenzied Bull's Strength cannot be a heart technique either." "Oh, I see." Peacock seemed to have come to a realization, but after listening to the explanation, she felt a wave of annoyance in her heart. She waved her hand and said, "And Xiao Yao, I was just curious just now. I knew you were the champion of the arena competition, so I wanted to test your martial arts skills. But I was a little reckless and caused you to be injured. She thought for a while and did not say the words of apology. She then took out a small jade bottle and threw it to Zhang Xiaohua, saying, "This is the Yahuandan pill that we use to heal injuries. Take it and heal yourself." Valley Master Nye and Elder Zhang heard this, and their faces turned pale with fright. -3. Chapter 505. Not only were Valley Head Nye and Elder Zhang shocked, Even Manager Yang and the rest of the people from the cult of incense had looks of envy on their faces. Zhang Xiaohua was also shocked in his heart. He had seen the name of this jade rejuvenation pill in the jade slip, but he had not paid much attention to its effects. However, as long as it was a pill recorded in the jade slip, how bad could it be? Zhang Xiaohua reached out to receive it and bowed. "Thank you for the medicine, Master Kong. I am fine." Peacock saw that Zhang Xiaohua was neither servile nor overbearing and felt much better. She said, "We will be leaving tomorrow morning. Rest well and don't miss tomorrow's journey." After she finished speaking, she turned around and walked away. Manager Yang followed closely behind in astonishment. During this time, he even turned around to look at Zhang Xiaohua in bewilderment. He thought to himself, "This guy isn't the gigolo type. Why did he catch Lord Kong's eye the moment he saw him? Could it be that they have met before? But Master Kong is an outstanding disciple of the inner sect and has never left the cult of incense. How could he know this kid from the mountains? Little you, if my guess is right, your fiancé is going to fly away." After the people from the cult of incense left, Valley Head Nia and Elder Zhang turned around. Valley Head Nia was especially concerned. "Nephew Ren, how are your injuries?" Elder Zhang was also indignant. "Master Kong is too much. He was just testing the level of his martial arts. He did not have to be so ruthless." Valley Head Nia shook his head and said, "Who knows? The previous envoys of the fragrant religion were all from the inner sect. All of them were highly skilled in martial arts and their actions were unreasonable. This Master Kong is considered good. Alas, maybe yesterday Manager Yang made a decision on his own and made some decisions which made Master Kong unhappy." Elder Zhang nodded. "That's right. Although the matter of letting Rinpochian enter the incense cult is managed by the Pill Expanding Hall, Master Kong is the envoy this time after all. Manager Yang's report was a little late. Forget it. As long as Nephew Rin can go, Rejuvenation Valley will have fulfilled our promise to you." Valley Head Nia smiled and said to Zhang Xiaohua. Zhang Xiaohua did not know what was going on. She thought it made sense. She did not know Master Kong and had no reason to find trouble with her. It must be because of the issue of entering the cult of incense. However, Master Kong had no reason to be so surprised to see her. This was something that Zhang Xiaohua could not understand no matter how he thought about it. Valley Head Nia looked at Zhang Xiaohua's mouth and asked again, "Nephew Ren, how are your injuries? Do you want to rest in the pill refining room?" Soon after, one of them fervently looked at the jade bottle in his hand. "Hurry up and take a jade restoration pill. This is a legendary panacea for treating internal injuries. I heard that no matter how serious the injury is, just one pill can completely cure it. You can try it now." "Is that so?" Zhang Xiaohua was astonished. She had seen everyone's gaze just now and knew that the Yvondan pill was not simple. But she did not expect it to be so miraculous. Of course, this is a healing elixir specially used by the inner disciples of the fragrant cult. In the past, I only heard about it from Manager Yang. Even he, the manager of the Pill Repository Hall, has only heard about it and has never obtained it. Ha! Zhang Xiaohua smiled and opened the pill of incense. She poured out 2 pills and threw them to Valley Head Nia. "Valley Head Nia, please accept them. Treat it as a gift from a junior." Valley Head Nia was caught off guard and caught it in a panic. He was both happy and uneasy. "Nephew Rin, this is from Master Kong. Moreover, your injuries." Zhang Xiaohua smiled and wiped the blood from her mouth. She said faintly, "It's nothing. I just accidentally bit my lips." Dang dang, dang dang. With 2 crisp sounds, Valley Master Nia and Elder Zhang both fell to the ground. When the 2 got up from the ground, rubbing their heads, Zhang Xiaohua suddenly thought, "Uncle Nia, didn't you have something to tell me?" Valley Head Nia thought for a moment and said, "Nephew Ren, let's go to your pill refining room." The 2 bid farewell to Elder Zhang. Elder Zhang looked at the crimson flame pill in Valley Head Nia's arms with resentment. Yes, there was also the Yvondan pill. They came to the pill refining room where Zhang Xiaohua was temporarily staying. After listening carefully and making sure that there was no one outside, Valley Head Nya said, Nephew Rin, little you must have already informed you yesterday. The trip to the Cult of Incense has been confirmed. Today, Master Kong has also given his approval. You should pack up today. Tomorrow, you will follow the 9 medicine apprentices of Rejuvenation Valley to the Cult of Incense. Zhang Xiaohua nodded and said, Thank you, Uncle Nya, for your help. Valley Head Nya waved his hand. You don't have to be so polite. However, although the medicine apprentices of Rejuvenation Valley have nothing to do with Rejuvenation Valley once they leave Rejuvenation Valley, they are still people of Rejuvenation Valley. The reliability of these medicine apprentices and their future actions in the Cult of Incense will affect Rejuvenation Valley's reputation. Moreover, to be honest, Nephew Ren, I thought of it too simply. I didn't think that it would be as simple as being a medicine apprentice in the Cult of Incense. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua bowed again. Uncle Nya, don't worry. I will definitely remember your kindness in helping me. Moreover, I know my own weight. When I arrive at the Cult of Incense, I will not cause trouble and drag Rejuvenation Valley into trouble. Valley Head Nya smiled and said, It's best that Nephew Rin thinks this way. Actually, I'm not worried about Nephew Rin. Although Nephew Rin has only stayed in Rejuvenation Valley for half a year, the impact of this half a year on Rejuvenation Valley can be said to be. Valley Head Nya seemed to be unable to find the right words. It can be said that the impact is far-reaching. It can't be said that it has become a brand new Rejuvenation Valley, but it's almost there. Moreover, Nephew Rin is kind-hearted and has a calm personality. She will definitely not bring trouble to Rejuvenation Valley. I am very relieved about this. However, among the 10 medicine apprentices who are going to the Cult of Incense this time, other than Nephew Rin, there is another person who is just there to make up the numbers. Zhang Xiaohua was shocked and said, What do you mean, Uncle Nya? Thus, Valley Head Nya explained the matter in full detail. After Valley Head Nya finished, Zhang Xiaohua frowned. She suddenly felt that this seemingly normal nepotism was extremely abnormal. After pondering for a moment, Zhang Xiaohua probed. Uncle Nya, what do you mean? A trace of cold light flashed through Valley Head Nya's eyes. Honorable Nephew Ren, this old man will entrust you with a task. If you discover that this domineering fellow has any other intentions, please don't let this fellow do anything harmful to Rejuvenation Valley on account of this old man recommending you to spread the incense order. With a frown, Zhang Xiaohua fell into deep thought. This matter didn't sound difficult, but if she seriously thought about it, it would be troublesome. She was only going to inquire about second brother's news. Although she had the title of Rejuvenation Valley's son-in-law, he was only a prospective son-in-law. Everything about the Cult of Incense was still unknown. If she agreed to Valley Head Nya's request, she would have no choice but to place some of her thoughts on this Nephew Rin who had no relationship with her at all. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua's somewhat difficult expression, Valley Head Nya gritted his teeth and said, Nephew Rin, this old man knows that this matter is somewhat difficult for you. There are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the Cult of Incense, and I don't know how many experts there are. However, you should also think about it. If Nephew Rin were to do something outrageous, wouldn't it implicate hundreds and thousands of innocent people in Rejuvenation Valley? Even little you would find it difficult to escape. Furthermore, Nephew Rin, since you were not injured by Lord Kong's palm, I believe that your martial arts skills are not inferior to Manager Yang's. I have already instructed Manager Yang to take care of this matter. If it is inconvenient for him, I would like you to take action on his behalf. What do you think? Zhang Xiaohua sighed and said, If that is the case, Uncle Nya, this nephew will agree to your request. However, I have to say the ugly words first. If I were to act, then Nephew Rin. Valley Head Nya understood and nodded. This old man understands. I want you to act to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. There is no need to leave any leeway. Zhang Xiaohua also nodded. Since it is like this nephew will agree to Uncle Nya's request. Valley Head Nya cupped his hands. If Nephew Rin were to act, then this old man would have no worries. Subsequently, Valley Head Nya told Zhang Xiaohua about the situation that Manager Yang had told him yesterday. After listening, Zhang Xiaohua could not help but frown. It is peaceful to be a medicine boy. However, to be an outer disciple, what kind of tests do you have to pass to be able to roam the Jianghu? This is somewhat difficult. Not to mention the difficulties of roaming the Jianghu. As long as you become an outer disciple, you will have to join the fragrant religion. If you were to make things difficult for the fragrant religion in the future, wouldn't you be acting without justification? This seems to have deviated from your original plan. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua like this, Valley Head Nia was somewhat embarrassed. Nephew Ren, this old man did not understand these things before. I thought that I would just be a medicine boy. I did not expect. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, Uncle Nia, what are you thinking? This nephew is just a bit surprised. There are too many rules in this fragrant religion. I have no complaints about other things. Being able to enter the fragrant religion is all thanks to Uncle Nia's matchmaking. This nephew is very grateful. At this time, Zhang Xiaohua had already thought it through. Of course, taking the normal route would not be easy. However, aren't we practitioners of the way of immortals? We have countless methods to confuse martial artists. Since the normal route is not possible, then we will take the abnormal route. We will pretend to be dead and escape underground. Oh, if that does not work, we will escape using fire. Could it be that we can't sneak out? In any case, she could not first be a medicine boy, then an outer disciple, and then pass some tests. How tiring would that be? On the other side, Valley Head Nia asked, What does Nephew Ren plan to do? Zhang Xiaohua rubbed her chin. The situation is stronger than the person. Uncle Nia, since we are in other people's territory, what is there for this nephew to be calculative about? It is only the arrangements of others. In any case, this nephew is only here to inquire about the news of my brothers. If I can learn some of the fragrant religion's martial arts, TSK, this nephew would naturally be more than happy to do so. Valley Head Nia nodded and repeated Manager Yang's words. Zhang Xiaohua was naturally endlessly grateful. After chatting for a while and explaining some of the fragrant religion's rules and taboos, Valley Head Nia finally walked out unhurriedly. At this time, the sun was already setting in the west. Zhang Xiaohua stood at the entrance of the pill room and looked at the rejuvenation valley that she had lived in for half a year. She had an indescribable feeling in her heart. Calm, there are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. -3. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.